Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus on the forum.
And this is Parker. Go by Dr. Mantis Toboggan on forums.
This is Jeremy. Hashtag Amazing Spider-Man sucks. The hype was wrong. Or just Parker sucks. One or the other. I don't know.
I told you, it was just all hype. He's actually not good.
Nope.
Parker, I can't remember. Are you an MD or not? Did you get that diploma?
MD, yes.
Esquire. He got
MD
Esquire.
the third.
Medical doctorate, yep. I know. I get tired using all the titles, is the problem.
I got my Monster Hot condom. I got my Wad 100s. I'm ready to plow. All right. So, Parker, Jeremy, we're going to have a quick discussion here. So, for announcements,
Yep.
Parker had worked his way down to a measly 230 probationary episodes. But with him, and I don't want to misquote him, sleeping on duty, I don't know what we should do here. He willfully did not come to the podcast.
Yeah.
Despite having nothing else to do at the time.
I mean, if it was a civil war, we would march him to a field and shoot him in the back of the head. So
yeah. What's that? What's the equivalent of that in probationary episodes?
I think 7 disagulations. I think something like that.
Parker, do you have anything to say for yourself before we get rule out judgment here?
I've already said I have no case.
Mercy of the court.
I am the mercy of the court. Yes, I have absolutely. I got nothing.
Why don't you tell our loyal audience exactly where you were?
I was face down on my QWERTY keyboard, driving the letters J, K, L, and M into my forehead, and while music blared in my headphones, and presumably also lots and lots of alerts from you guys trying to ring me.
I called
and
you
call
like
me.
6 times.
Yeah, it's like all of that should have gone through my headphones, but in between, I guess, like music was blaring too. So
you were listening to Licensed to Ill at a chilling 109 decibels.
Yeah, it was. I was basically sleeping like that guy in the picture where he's got like the sound waves are like from the speaker pushing and blasting, and his tie is blowing behind him. That was basically me.
You're like Doc Brown, just chilling in his lounge, playing through the speakers.
Yep,
Like,
I was completely dead to the world. I woke up at 4:30, and this is 100% true. I woke up at 4:30, and the first thing I thought was, oh man, this is going to be so many demerits. That's the very first thing. I thought, oh no.
All right. I have an idea. Let's leave it up to the gods. All right. So let's go to random.com. Is this still a site? I think they closed down random.com.
What are we trying to get to?
Random number generator. All right. What's the maximum sentence, do you think, Jeremy? What's the maximum we would be allowed to give him for missing an episode because of this stupid situation he put himself in?
Oh, I would say 500. That seems
500?
Yeah.
Wow, you're nicer than me. I was going to go 1,000.
Ooh.
All right.
Ooh.
Parker, what do you think the minimum number of demerits is?
I'm just gonna go with the number I have, 230. Let's try that.
230 is the minimum?
Yeah, the minimum that could happen is I get double my current demerits.
Doubled? You think doubled is fair?
I think doubling down is the like minimum.
Is it you got off easy if we just double the number?
Yeah, that would be really polite. All
right. Jeremy, do you agree with these numbers? Would you like to adjust any of them? Like maybe go to 1,500 on the max?
He threw himself in the mercy of the court. You heard him. He knows he did wrong.
All right.
He knows he did wrong.
If he had tried with like some measly 50 episodes, I would have been like, nope.
Yeah.
Bam, we're going to double the max now. Good job.
Unexcusable.
All right. Somewhere between 230 and 500. Let's see what the judgment is. 394 additional episodes.
Hey.
Okay.
Could have been worse. Could have
been worse.
Yeah.
If you are found to be innocent due to DNA, if it does surface and you are innocent, we will apologize. The demerits will.
You should have sent us a picture of your forehead, and we would have gone with the minimum sentence. If we could read your keyboard in your face, we would have known you weren't lying, because it wouldn't have been worth the bullshit excuse to press the keyboard against your head for that long. So you should have taken a picture. That was worth it.
Yeah.
All right.
What was I thinking?
Yeah, I know. What an idiot. So after today, that's going to put you at 623 probationary episodes.
Well, that's a lot.
I will say this. The keyboard in my head was actually preferable to what's happened before to me also, where I've laid down on my arm, and
your neck was just like fucked.
No, it's not my neck. It's my hand. My hand has fallen asleep in such an aggravated way that I will go to, like, I'll wake up at like 4:30 in the morning and like, oh man, it's just like on fire. Like I can't feel it. And I'm like, ah, shit. And like, I just got to go to bed because I'm so tired still. So I go upstairs and I lay down and I wake up and it's still on fire. No problems. I'm just like, oh no. And it's hours before I get full feeling in my hand back. That's happened before. Oh man! Every time that happens, I go, "Am I going to get a blood clot like to my brain at like 9:30? I'm just going to fall over."
I have a fucking aneurysm because I fucking fell asleep in my chair.
Yeah, that's it's so. Every time I'm just like, "Oh man, my body's such a machine," and I'm just like depriving it of oil. My bones just going to shrivel up and shit. I don't know what's going to happen.
Is that the worst you've ever woken up? Because I know the worst I've ever woken up like feeling. This is the day after my 21st birthday. I woke up in a bathtub. The shower was still going after 6 hours. I was so fucking cold. I was like I have driven a moped through an ice storm, and I have never been as cold as when I woke up after fully clothed with my shoes on. Fucking cold water coming down on the shower for hours.
You were straight up Leo. Never let go, Jack.
Yeah, like I was like blue. Like my face was blue. I was so fucking cold. I was like, holy shit. Like I couldn't move. I went to try and sit up. I couldn't even sit up. I had to turn the faucet on with my feet because I couldn't sit up. I was shaking so bad. I was like, oh my god. That's the worst I've ever woken up.
Stay strong, Rose.
And that was my own damn fault.
Stay strong,
I passed
Rose.
out in the shower.
Stay strong, Rose. Never let go, Jack. I was like, one of my worst ones actually was the other day. I woke up at Arrowhead Stadium surrounded by assholes yelling about the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. I was surprised you didn't wake up when that guy started peeing on you.
Yeah, that was a trip. But I was only asleep for a couple minutes there. Those are always the ones actually I think that are probably the scariest. Even though the other ones
when you wake up somewhere you're unfamiliar with.
Yeah, when I wake up and I'm like, oh shit, when did I fall asleep? How long has it been since I fell asleep last? Oh no.
When you time travel.
Yeah, when you time travel. Those are the weird ones. Oh, also, do you guys get this a lot? I get these a lot, which is that nerve center in my brain that controls your paralysis, your sleep paralysis. I will quite constantly wake up and that thing will be on still, and I can't.
Oh, you're sleep paralyzed?
I can't move. Shit, that is scary as fuck. That happens to me.
Oh wow, yeah,
often.
that's never happened.
Really? Oh
no,
it happens
that's crazy.
to me.
I've heard that happens to people.
Yeah, it happens to me probably about at least once a month to every 2 months. That happens to me.
Really?
It just happened to me yesterday. I laid down in my bed while my wife was reading the girls some stories, and I felt like I dozed off while this is it was Tuesday, the day after I stayed up waiting late playing games with Jeremy, and so I fell asleep in the bed, and the girls are like, "Come to tuck me in, tuck us in bed, Daddy," and I heard that from the bedroom, like, okay, and I go to get up and I can't open my eyes, I can't move. I'm like,
wait, you said okay or you thought okay?
In my mind, I went okay, but there was no movement. I was completely paralyzed, and I had that 5-second freak out. It's happened to me so much that the initial reaction is intense terror, and then I go, wait a minute, it's happened before.
Oh god, I'm paralyzed.
Just chill. It will turn on in a couple seconds. Just chill, just chill, and then all of a sudden, just it clicks on. But man, for that,
from what I've heard, it's actually like a chemical in your brain, and so when you're asleep, your body secretes this paralyzing chemical to keep you from moving. Because in your dream state you would thrash around a lot,
right?
And so it just produces enough to keep you from moving around while you're dreaming. And for some people, your brain either produces too much or not enough, and that's why some people sleepwalk. And then some people wake up paralyzed. That was my understanding of it.
I don't think it's a chemical, because a chemical would take way too long to
Well, but it's just a tiny amount because it's in your brain, right? It's basically a muscle suppression in your brain, so it's these tiny amounts. It's like adrenaline. Like you hit yourself with an adrenaline syringe, and you don't think it's gonna kick in that quickly, but it's like basically instantaneous.
I'm trying to figure out like what. Now, of course, I try to look it up. And the internet's telling me like, it's like, do you have sleep paralysis? Try this new drug. Like, no, fucking internet. Don't try to guess what I want. Just tell me the name of the organ. I'm not an idiot. Yeah, but just trying to figure out like, is it an organ?
Because I always thought that's why you have that like adrenal response to getting woken up, is so the adrenaline overrides that other chemical. But again, I haven't really studied this. This is just what I've heard from like random like documentaries and shit.
Oh, so it's brain cells called trigeminal motor neurons communicate the brain's message. So it's neurotransmitter receptors called ionotropic glycine receptors, and the motor neurons cause sleep paralysis. So yeah, you're right. It is a neurotransmitter. Okay. Yep, but it's a neurotransmitter.
Now that we've got all that covered.
Hey, I find this shit interesting.
Yeah, it's a neurotransmitter. So neurotransmitters are very undiscovered territory.
One of those things we don't really understand. Right. We just watch it work. And we're like, okay, don't stop.
Yeah. It's like there's two things in the body that we understand almost nothing about because they're insanely complex, and that is our nervous system and our immune system. Insanely complicated systems that we're just barely scratching the surface. It's basically like the bottom of the ocean. We know it's there, but we don't know what the fuck.
And like cell replication, right? Or is that like
some cell replications? Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Because I thought we knew more about immune system stuff than we did about cell replication.
Pretty sure the immune system is one of the most unmapped things because the way the immune system works is you basically have an immune cell for every possible virus or bacterial infector that could ever possibly be constructed according to the periodic table. Like that's the way your immune system works, is it's basically designed to handle everything that could ever happen to you ever. But with a system like that, that's so like the library is more vast than any sort of computational system we could ever create, like theoretically. It's insane, like the combinations of immune systems cells that your immune system produces. But if you have that kind of ridiculous coverage, it's also going to start destroying your own body systems. Yeah. So the way that your body culls the ridiculous library of immune system cells to get it down to just the ones it needs to fight off infections and bacteria, and not, your own body systems. But yes, some body systems, because some things you actually want to destroy on a constant basis, it's crazy. So that's one of the reasons why with autoimmune disorders, which is your body not being able to handle that system correctly, that's one of the only reasons. The only things we can do right now is trick our body into having a weaker immune system, or just purposely like bashing it with a hammer, because we don't understand exactly how to ask the body to stop killing itself with its own immune system. We do not know how to program the immune system because we do not understand how it programs itself.
Yeah. Okay.
It's weird.
I think Jeremy's right. We should probably get back to the podcast, though.
Yeah.
This has been announcements.
Yeah.
So Parker, you get to do a segment because you're here this week.
Yay! News. So, first thing first, we got some Criminal Syndicate updates. The first one is the Kingpin of Crime is totally new, completely different. Everyone just flocked to him. He's been monstrously updated with exactly one thing. Hail to the King now has a size restriction. He only throws size 3.
This is a good change.
Yeah.
It was always silly that he could throw size 4 stuff.
Yeah.
Or size 5 shit for that matter.
Yeah.
Speaking of Dormammu.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm going to take this extra-dimensional being and chuck him.
Yeah. I'm really, really surprised they didn't touch his leadership.
Really? Why?
I think it puts him in a very weird spot moving forward, because now I think it's kind of like the Denegra 2 of War Machine. Every model that can legally play with him has to have this leadership in mind because it's so strong. Like it just dramatically changes the way the game works, right? Because your models count as 2. And so if they're like now like 2-point models that could be in Criminals are going to have a much higher tax on them than I think any other faction.
Also, there's something to be said about the characters that can't flip over. So those healthy side characters, if they make, I actually considered like the fact that they made Hulk stronger. I wondered that it actually improves Criminals because now you have another character that is more viable. He has a lot of points, so I don't know if you ever do this, but because since he's always healthy, if he is also strong, then as a criminal, he's just going to be 2 characters all the time. So you're not losing out on the fight on for extraction points if you're willing to play Criminals with the Hulk.
I see the logic there. I think you'd still end up taking MODOK over Hulk, but I see where you're going. Characters like Deadpool have a really strong impact on that because they always count as healthy.
Right.
I just think it's one of those that can get out of hand really easily with the right characters. Like how many times you've been building a Criminals list, you're like, man, if I just had one more good character, this would bust wide open. And I feel like we've been in that spot a lot with Criminals. And with these updates alone, I think they're going to get much better.
Oh.
And then anything to come out in the future as well.
Yeah. So speaking of more, we got Green Goblin's card. Although we already knew a lot about Green Goblin, do we actually see his card?
We already had his card.
Yeah,
we already had his
card. So to briefly update, his regular Pumpkin Bomb's attack went up to 1 extra dice, so 5 on his healthy side and 6 when injured. He now has his Oscorp weaponry, which is the Spider-Foe affiliation, not the Criminals, but the Spider-Foe affiliation no longer has a power cost for doing it. You just always get to reroll an opponent's dice, which is super strong. He feels much more like a 4-point character now, and Spider-Foe's was fine. Now he seems pretty darn strong.
I think they were about mid-tier without the update. With the update, I think they're competitive. They're just weird because they're competitive in a very different way than most factions because they don't really try and win on scenario. They just try and kill you.
Right.
It's just kind of odd.
Next one is MODOK. MODOK, we already knew a lot about his changes, but long story short, they basically made his ability to... they made one thing once per turn. It was...
the Bow to the Will MODOK is once per turn.
That's right.
His rerolls are also once per turn.
That's right, the weed rerolls.
And the final thing was... I don't remember what the other one was. There was 3 changes, right? Oh, the timing mechanic of his rerolls.
So you know when his rerolls are actually supposed to work now, which is always the way it was played more or less, but now it's very clear.
I remember what we didn't tell Parker about from last week. We'll cover it after the spoilers.
Deal. And the last one, which is actually a really big deal. I'm very excited to talk about this. For many reasons, but Benjamin Poindexter, Bullseye, got a really interesting facelift. For the first time ever, we have a precedence. They have changed a character's threat level. He went from threat 3 down to threat 2. In addition to that, he did go down to 4 stamina on both sides, so he is a very lightweight, and he has 2 mystic defense now. His throwing knives now do not generate power for damage dealt. They just deal a single power, but
it's a gainer, not a builder.
Right.
I didn't even know that he was supposed to have 5 stamina. I honestly thought he was supposed to have 4.
Yeah.
I read his card. I was like, I think that's what he had before. I wouldn't know because he's complete trash.
Yeah. So, first thing I thought about this is actually the fact that it's a gainer now and not a builder. I actually like a lot. It makes a lot of the things in his kit actually work a lot better. Like he'll actually get to do hit and run, and I never miss and things like that. Because when you only had 4 attack dice, it was kind of you're trying to build off of. It felt bad. I think he actually will get to do the thing he does, which is throw knives at people and consistently get to do things like hit and run, and I never miss. So I like the changes.
I mean,
I think it's interesting, because there's also a new 2-pointer available in 2 factions because he's in the ball as well.
Yeah.
He seems attractive at 2 points. I still think he's worse than multiple other 2-pointers, but he does kind of his own thing, so that's fine.
Any in-affiliation 2-pointer is worth a look. It's probably worth a try. I mean, basically...
Especially in Criminals.
Basically, if you look at it, it's a 2-point model, and you go, Well, he's not very good. Well, it's only 2 points, so whatever.
Yeah.
You can be not great and be 2 points and be just fine if you need
Exactly.
Mhm.
But if all factions that needed a 2-pointer, it was like fucking criminals. Like they
Mhm.
needed
Yes.
one real bad. So yeah, this is a great change for them.
I also, one of the things that it is interesting about hit and run with criminals is that some characters you might, hit and run and not get much out of it, but with criminals you could hit and run, then move medium onto a point that only has one person, and now you attacked somewhere, and then you mobily went to somewhere where your opponent maybe didn't think you were going to be. It lets you contribute to multiple points on the board in a really meaningful way in criminals. So
Also, like hypothetically, if you're in a weird situation where you're standing on a point and your opponent has put 2 people on a point across from you, let's say Bullseye's going last, he can advance, do hit and run, throw his knives, see if he kills one of them, and then advance to either point potentially.
right.
And so you can go back to where you were if you want, or go to the point that you just cleared for yourself to score or contest.
Mhm.
And so I think it's especially good on a ranged character like this that has a really strong leadership that interacts with where you're standing.
It's the fact that he's in Cabal is also worth saying, because of course you think about him with Red Skull, and he is not bad with Red Skull. He's going to gain 2
He
power
is
every time he
bad
throws a
with Red
knife.
Skull.
That's pretty cool. Or sorry, most time he throws a knife, not all the time, because
No,
I
he
never missed
doesn't.
does not interact with the Red Skull's
Yeah.
ability. But
There you go.
having another 2-pointer in Cabal for Sin is interesting. More ways to use her disruptive abilities with Cabal members. Interesting. Other news, we have now for sure, quote unquote, actual release dates for some of the upcoming stuff. We've been waiting very patiently here in the United States for everything. Everybody else has gotten to play with all the toys, but we're still waiting for stuff. So as far as we know, on November 12th, we will actually get to play with Dormammu, the Lord of the Dark Dimension, and our favorite Dhampir and Moon Knight coming together in a single box. I know I'm most excited about playing me some Vampire Hunters. But
Who comes with Moon Knight?
the Dhampir
Who's
Hunter.
Who's that? I'm trying to look him up on MCPDB. What's his name?
It's another word for sharpened knife.
Dirk.
Yeah, it's Dirk. Dirk and Moon Knight. You got it.
Nice. It's a sharpened blade. Starts with a D.
Yeah.
What else?
We also got on December 10th, Spider-Man and Doc Ock, the reprints on their awesome
The Rivals
Scenic base is coming out, which is super cool. Mordo and Ancient One box, Voodoo and Hood box, Doctor Strange and Clea box, and the Sanctum Sanctorum Terrain pack. Monstrous release on December 10th. So, Merry Christmas to anybody who wants to.
I'm not going to be able to afford
Yeah.
Christmas for my children.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the Spider-Man box is like 65 because it comes with the terrain. The Sanctorum I think is 80 or 85, and so that's at 150 basically. And then 3 normal boxes is going to be at least another 120. So basically $300 after tax. It's a big day.
I was considering even getting the Spider-Man and Doc Ock just because how much I like the new Spider-Man sculpt. And then I played Web Warriors yesterday or this week, and I changed my mind.
What are you talking about? If anything, this means that you have to buy it because the old Spider-Man's better than the new Spider-Man. You cannot dispute my logic.
Yeah, I was going to say that actually checks out. Damn it! I didn't want to buy. I did not want to buy. I did not want to buy.
That new Doc Ock sculpt is so nice.
It's so cool.
I'm gonna play Doc Ock just because the model's good.
Yeah.
I honestly think that's part of the reason nobody plays him is because God, that model is not good.
Yeah.
It's probably the worst looking model of the range. I mean, if it's not the worst, it's definitely down there.
The other ones are so much more forgivable because it's like Black Widow and Captain Marvel, which like there's not all like you could have done something really cool with Captain Marvel, but it's also a starter box character, so you kind of understand that they didn't really do anything with it. But Doc Ock is just like he looks like he's sitting there pooping. Like, what are you doing, man?
Yep.
Like, do something. It's like the meme of the guy poking the thing with a stick. Is like, do something. Anyway, so we talked about some spoilers. Last week we brought up the fact that sorry, I have a fly bothering me. We brought up the fact that technically Shuri got buffed, not nerfed, because the upgrade to the wording on her rerolls is better than the fact she can't push size 4. Because if you actually do the math on which size 4 characters are in the game that she needs to push, it's like none. Because it's Black Dwarf and Hulk and MODOK. are the 3 characters.
Mm-hmm.
And so she loses the ability to push 3 characters in the game currently and gains perfect knowledge on rerolls. It's like,
wait,
yeah,
gains perfect knowledge on rerolls. What was the old system? I thought
no, because the way the errata changed the way her reroll worked,
Mhm.
you had to decide to do your rerolls before rolling your crit dice. And so now with the new wording, she doesn't have to do that. She can do it after the crits, like the way we've been playing it. Because the errata was fucking dumb, nobody should ever play the game that way.
I'm with you. Yep.
Yeah, but that was my point. It was that, technically speaking, from before they spoiled her new card to after, she technically got better.
Wait, when Hulkbuster Iron Man comes out, he'll also be another one, right?
Yeah, but that's not currently in the game.
Got it.
When she was legally that way.
Right.
But anyway, so I was annoyed with that. All right, so we've done all the news?
That's news.
It? No more news?
Huzzah.
All right, I feel like we've been teasing this, the grudge match of the century. Parker, do you want to talk about a game you played recently?
Okay. So, I'll tell you what I played. I decided to pick up Web Warriors for the first time, inspired by The Amazing Spider-Man. I love the concept of a go-beat-em-up Spider-Man. It's what I asked for, right? Like, on episode 4 or some nonsense of this podcast, I said, I want a Spider-Man that can beat somebody up. I don't want this controlling nonsense. The controlling Spider-Man isn't even in my case. I don't even bring him to come play with. He's one of the 4 models that's not in the case, because I don't want to touch that bullshit.
Oof.
And so...
Hey, soon you'll be able to play both.
I know. I actually will when I can play both. But with I was like, when Amazing Spider-Man came out, I finally have an excuse to play Web Warriors. I'm going to go see if I can beat people up and do some, scory, control-y stuff. And I played them. Well, I'll let you, Jeremy. What did you play? I'll let you describe what you played against me. By the way, it was almost exactly what you think of with Web Warriors. It was all the scenario control-y stuff and the Amazing Spider-Man. He was the only one that kind of wasn't like the other ones, but.
So I got priority, so I chose 17 points. That's what was important. 17 points is exactly where I want to be. I played X-Men, 3 X-Men plus Corvus and Proxima. That's kind of my jam. It's my favorite list that I play. I love it. Parker, continue. That's what I play.
Yeah. So I played the Venom, Ghost Spider, Miles Morales, Amazing Spider-Man, and Toad. And at first I was like, okay, this could work. This could be just fine. We were playing the Senators was the mission, and so I had a pretty good starting setup. I was ready to play, and then he had priority, so he got his first turn. Beast walked up, rolled the crit, immediately picked up the Senator, and that was the end of the game, as it turned out. Because basically Spider-Man
Wycombe has no senator, bro.
Yeah, because basically Spider-Man, as it turns out, the Amazing Spider-Man went after Beast and really went after him, and for 3 turns in a row I just wailed on Beast and could not flip him over. Like, couldn't. A 5-point character went after a 3-point character and just didn't do anything. I was looking at the dice after the game. Did he get really bad dice? And I was looking, and I was like, no, not really. Like, he just couldn't knock down the Beast. There was nothing I could do. He has no throws. He has no things, and I couldn't get a lot of power because I wasn't doing that much damage to him. I was only like 1 or 2 damage at a time. He did have to spend a med pack to stop me from downing him, but it wasn't. He had like 2 health left, so we went back up to near full. That was what it was. It wasn't like I downed him to just 1, or you had to field dressing him or something. It didn't know. It was just the Amazing Spider-Man.
I will say, like,
amazing.
Spider-Man is definitely not the character to kill Beast, but it's not like impossible. It's just like a little uphill because he's got a reasonably good health pool for physical. He has rerolls on defense. He can run away pretty well, actually, because he's reasonably mobile. And the thing I noticed in my one game with Amazing Spider-Man, he's not actually great at chasing people. He has the gap closed, but it's very expensive. So if that person just continues to run away from you, he doesn't really have the action economy or the power economy to continue pursuit.
I got you there. It was Senators. He only had movement. He only can advance short. He never got more. And because the other thing we were playing was the mission where if you control a majority of the 3 places on the board, you get 3 points.
Sword base.
All or nothing.
Yeah, sword. We're playing sword. So the other since I actually had control of the sword base once and like drew Beast back towards me. I never actually had Beast never got beyond range 4 of Spider-Man. Like I didn't even have to leap after him. It did not matter. Like I rolled 10 dice a turn at the Beast, and Beast just said,
that sounds like
nope.
really good defense dice then, because even with the 4 and rerolls, he's still like 2 per turn, 2 per attack is still like a good roll.
Yeah.
Like, so if he's blocking like 5 dice, 7 dice, 5 dice, 7 dice, 5 dice, 7 dice, like that's just him getting.
I only rolled 2 to 3 hits every time.
He rolled really piss poor. It was bad.
Because you might not roll apocalyptically bad, but if one side's rolling 20% above, the other side's rolling 20% below, like you play X-Wing, it just happens sometimes where it's like you just can't get damage to stick.
Right.
And especially when you're considering he basically had a 9 hit point pool. Well, he's basically as tough as Thanos at that point. Like if you do the math, it's like 9 hit points, 4 physical, plus rerolls. Like that's Thanos. Like you're just not getting through it.
And I did not think I had to double up on the Beast to get him. And I guess now I know. Basically, what we discovered by the end of the game is that Amazing Spider-Man is exactly what it looks like he is. There is something about him that is a little bit hard to understand, which is he's not a predator, right? He doesn't go out there and ruin models' days. He jumps out early, grabs 1, maybe 2 awesome, objective tokens, and then is a fantastic kind of mobile safe where it's really hard to pin him down. It's really hard to knock him down. You'll do some damage to him, which just fuels his ability to go wherever he wants and do whatever he wants. So while you're trying to knock him down, he's doing more damage to you and being a fantastic container for it. He's not a great controller. He's not quote unquote, amazing at damage. But what he is really good at is jumping and bouncing around and making your life harder while you're trying to get him. And that was not what I could do that game. There was only one objective. It was the Senator. He got it instantly, and so the Amazing Spider-Man was not so amazing. Like, he never got to do the thing he did. If I could have knocked down the Beast earlier... by the way, Amazing Spider-Man was not the only one who threw attacks at him. I also threw attacks from Ghost Spider and Toad. Beast did not go down. So it's not just the Amazing Spider-Man who failed. A bunch of them failed. But in order to not automatically lose on the Sword Establishes mission where he was going to get too many points from that, I had to divert the attention of the rest of my list to try to take some of those points. And eventually, Corvus Glaive got a god turn where he could get into within range 3 of 3 different web warriors, and he killed all of them in a single activation. And that was the game. It was the game when I took when I did 3 activations and 6 attacks on Beast and could not down him. That was really the game.
Yeah, that sounds like when the game ended.
Yeah. I mean, I was ready and committed to okay, I'm eventually going to lose Beast, and I will divert my Corvus bomb to get him. But I never had to. It was just once I had it, I just lived. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
What I would say, though, now that we're talking about it and thinking about it, when you did all webbed up, maybe you should have just all webbed up Beast and been done with him. That probably is what you needed to do instead of go for my army, which is what you did. And at the time, I was like, good play. I got 4 guys, all webbed up. But Beast was so far out, he wasn't involved in it. And maybe that's what you should have done, just dealt with him.
Well,
then he
I can tell you this. I actually did the math. I looked at it. I was like, okay, I had 1 turn where I had 3 power on Spider-Man to do that. I could pay 3 power on Spider-Man to get 2 extra dice on Beast twice, and so that would have given me, 4 dice on the 2 attacks I could do that turn. Or I could spend just 2 power to get 2 extra dice and a movement, so I can, be closer to you if you try to run away.
Sure.
So I basically went, and I still had the all webbed up to use somewhere else, and maybe this center area where I really need to do damage with some light hitters. So I did that math actually, and I went, I'm just going to spend 2 power to be able to be mobile and add 2 dice to my next attack on Beast anyway, rather than 3 power to give Beast a token that he already has because he already has the Senator, so he's already slow, and not knock him, And
so you're saying that you chose to web swing instead of all webbed up?
Yes, on a turn when
you had exactly 3 power.
No, I think I had 4.
Okay, I think that was a mistake. I think you should have all webbed up, because the all webbed up throwing a 7 dice attack into him if you already had 1 power. If you do 1 damage, then you get a 10 or a 9 dice attack against him on the last one, because you web swing in and hit him with a 9 dicer, and it's very hard to overcome 9 attack dice with 4 defense. And so, because what you're looking for is the home run swing, right? You're trying to knock him out,
Right.
and so you need to get the huge spikes, and the best way to guarantee that is do repetitive big attacks, because 1 big attack can get ignored. So doing those swing in, hit him once, like, that's vulnerable to bad dice. But if you're doing 7 and then 9 potentially, if you just do 1 damage with the 7, which is extremely likely, I think that was probably the play. But that's hindsight, knowing how important it was that you got the objective at the time.
Right.
It probably wouldn't matter, because Corvus would just cut your damn head off anyway, right?
Eventually. I mean, when it comes to objectives, especially the ones where there's only one of them on the board, it should have been you throw everything at him. Like, you have to get that back.
Yeah.
If Amazing Spider-Man had got him, I couldn't catch you. I mean, it'd been very hard.
You're either going to absolutely obliterate them on attrition, or you absolutely have to get the objective back. Like, there's no in between. It's like you have to table them or get the objective immediately. And I think that's what a lot of people mess up on those all or nothing scenarios, because you can't keep pace. It's impossible. Like, if you're doing like Sword and like Senators, there's only 5 points, but those you can't like evenly divide the points. You can't score 2 while they score 2, because someone's getting 3, someone's getting 2. And if that person is the same person ever, the game basically ends.
Well, I decided at the end of that game that in that scenario, like before, yes, there could maybe if I had all webbed up, I wouldn't have gotten 3 hits again, which happened a lot with rolling that many rolling a lot of dice. So
well, even with 3 hits, you're still likely to do 1 at least to get enough power. Yeah,
sure. So I'm not saying it would have been impossible. I'm just saying it is possible that I could have gotten that in hindsight. Maybe that was the call. However, actually, the main hindsight I got at the end of the game was it would have been so much better if I would have just had a 4-point Spider-Man.
That would have been way better.
Because the Amazing Spider-Man could have done so many things for me that game. He could have just, if Beast was there, he could have just pulled Beast all the fuck around and just said, Beast, you stand here next to Venom. Venom will come eat you. Or Venom or hell, at that point, I'm going to pull you all the way over here so that
Miles will just take it.
Yeah. Also, I'll upgrade Toad to Quicksilver. Quicksilver will just go take it. Like, there were so many things that open up as soon as I'm not spending 5 points on a not so amazing Spider-Man. So that was
you're just learning the most basic rule of Marvel Crisis Protocol. Not rolling dice is amazing.
Yeah,
that's the number 1 rule. Don't roll dice. It's same with War Machine. Why roll dice when you don't have to?
Yeah.
I'm going to slam my own model in the back to knock down your caster so I don't have to roll to hit you.
Right.
Even if it's like a 5. Why would I want to roll a 5 when I could roll not at all? Like,
right.
That's just, you always avoid the dice if you can.
So that's what I learned is that I need to pull out my Spider-Man. He's painted.
Yeah, put that shit in your bag.
And if I'm not swearing off Web Warriors forever, but I basically learned that Web Warriors was the Rape Train was designed with no breaks in mind, and I think the Amazing Spider-Man might be the breaks for Web Warriors, and maybe somebody can tell me he's amazing, so great, you should play him all the time. I think
Amazing Spider-Man is he's like the next level for Web Warriors. I think he's a great ad for the faction, but he's not the baseline Web Warriors. You need to learn how to Web Warrior before you Amazing Web Warrior, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you need to know, like, you need to be able to beat people without Spider-Man before Amazing Spider-Man makes sense.
There's also
stuff... You need to be able to win on scenario without a 4th Web Warrior before you add Amazing Spider-Man. Because now, if you're that good at playing them with the little amount of resources you have for control, then any additional attrition you add to your list is just getting you on par or ahead of everybody else on attrition.
Mm-hmm.
And just to be clear, Amazing Spider-Man can do things for that list that nobody else can do in that list. I mean, he's one of the few models that can go and take your opponent's objective on turn 1. Then what? Like, he can get the middle and escape. Nobody else can do that. So when you see those scenarios drop, like, he's a power move. Like, you can totally do that to people. But if you don't have those, then it's really not... You would have been better off playing the regular Spider-Man for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You remember when people used to play Asgard and Web Warriors all the time together? Do you guys remember that? It was pretty early on in the game.
Yeah.
Because
I
they were
don't
like
know.
the two main factions out. But Amazing Spider-Man is literally just an Asgardian in Web Warriors. Like,
Yeah.
he throws on his attacks. He fucks with people's dice. Like, he moves around. He's speed long. Like, he basically has flight. He feels like a weird combination of Thor and Angela, but he's a Web Warrior.
I wonder what Amazing Spider-Man plus Angela would be like playing that. Like, it's a lot of points, but it might be kind of fun.
It seems super redundant.
It does,
Because,
but I
like,
don't know.
It's like, all right, first turn, I'm going to move up here and take this. You're like, now what? You're like, I don't know. Like, you go next and you pick up your objective, so I don't know. Like, I don't know why I have this dumb girl with ribbons.
I think it would be pretty cool just to be wherever you wanted all the time. Like, they go forever.
Yeah. Yeah, playing fast models is fun. I think you'd be better off just doing Quicksilver, though.
You know what's funny? After I immediately did after I played this game, I want to take a look at Criminals again. I want to go. I want to go play slow models that just stand in places and just pick their nose while I win. Like that's because man, that's so far my favorite Marvel Crisis Protocol is when I don't have to make a decision about where I'm going. I'm just going at that point, and I'm going to stand there.
Parker wants to potato it.
Yeah,
It's going to potato it.
I just want to roll a
If there
potato.
was a potato faction, it'd be Criminals.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I just want to roll a potato oblong, like long side up every time until it gets to that point, and then just let it sit there. But honestly, I went back and looked at Criminals, and I thought, like, wait a minute, like Mysterio's in this faction now? That could be fun. Like, it's a different way to play Criminals. It's a control-y kind of way. I like that.
I think you'll find that Mysterio is the Amazing Spider-Man of Criminals.
Oh
He
no!
looks so much better on paper than he is in the game.
Well, I played him as a Spider Foe. I thought he was fine.
He's okay. He's not a bad model, but like his card looks nuts.
Yeah.
And he's just good.
Yeah.
Like he's not crazy.
True.
He's fine.
No, I didn't think it was. I didn't think he was some sort of insane thing.
Yeah, he just doesn't have the power generation.
But he does do something fun for Criminals, which is he likes to stand there. Like, he likes to go nowhere. He just likes to stand there and be, a dick. And that's fun in Criminals because
I think people just underestimate the crossbone speed. Like, crossbone speed is bad.
Yeah.
Like, it's real harsh.
Yep. You need to
like, if someone accidentally bumps an objective, you just don't get to the objective. You're like, oops.
Yeah.
Like, my opponent measured from his side and the mat's not perfectly square. Like, oops.
Yeah.
No contest for you.
Oh, speaking of mat, I will be investing in a mat. I don't own a mat, and we weren't playing at the Geekery, so we were playing on.
Or you could just play at cool game stores that supply all these resources to their customers.
That's true. We could do that. That's not where my opponent was, though.
Yeah, you guys didn't want to hang out with me, even though I wasn't at the Geekery at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did play another Separation Anxiety before we played our game. That is just so much fun.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
It is fun. I liked it.
That one is so much fun.
I highly recommend not playing models that can't score. Like, it's not great.
Oh, God.
It was fun. I had a good time. But, like, I intentionally, in an attempt to not make myself hyper-competitive in a casual event, I took a list that was factually incapable of winning. Because I had Thanos, Reality Stone, Time Stone, Nebula at 11 points. I was like, whatever. It's fine. Oh, and I took Inspiring Monologue. Fuck, I can't even remember what the other one was. I think I took Power of the Cosmos. And, God, I can't remember what the other one was. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. I got the objective turn 1, and then they couldn't really get it from me. Oh, and the first turn, I picked up the symbiote that gives you extra damage reduction. So he added 2 damage from everything. And it's like, come at me! Like,
oh my
it's
God.
pretty funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I ran and grabbed the beacon immediately again, and I don't know why, but for some reason playing that, everyone freaks out, and they're like, well, better not get it, I'll make a target of myself. Shit, man. I was playing Black Order.
But then nobody gets it, and then you get it, and then they're like, oh, well, I can't ignore this guy. It's like, no, you have to ignore that guy. You have to go get the guy with the beacon. Right now.
Yeah, so they went after me, and I was like, cool, mothershipped away, moved away, and I was gone. And then I was like,
yeah, that doesn't work.
Wait a second. That doesn't work.
You can't do that.
No. I was like, that doesn't work. So anyway, I moved out, moved away.
Altering the story. Hold on.
No,
I got to make up a new story.
No, I mothershipped in to get it. Anyway, the whole idea was I was sitting in a spot where I'm like, I could make this miserable. And anyway, I stopped and I just decided to fight him. So we all just got in this giant fucking fight right in the middle of the board, which was fun. That was fun.
I had Omega Red on top of me, and he did his like death factor thing where he's like, everyone takes damage. I'm like, I don't take damage. He's like, what do you mean you don't take damage? Like, I am Thanos. I have mayhem. I don't take damage. Like this is dumb. I was like, I agree. You should.
It was 2 damage reduction on Thanos.
Yeah, because that other symbiote, I think it's Mayhem. I can't remember who it is, but it says if you would suffer damage, reduce the amount of damage by 1. And it's not from a source; it's from anything. So it works on bleed. It works on like objective tokens. It works on everything.
Wow,
it's very annoying.
But you couldn't get the objective with it, the beacon or whatever.
No, I had the beacon. That was just the symbiote I happened to have.
So Thanos had the beacon with that.
With that.
How did he... And you lost somehow?
Because
he can only score 2.
the beacon you get 1 point for each symbiote you have. The beacon doubles your symbiote count. So I was scoring 2 points a turn, and then I held one of the secure objectives, so I got 3 points. And so I told them, like, just so you guys know, I'm the arbiter. Like, I'm going to make this a fair game. Nobody else can have the beacon, and I'll keep it. Because I can only score 3 points. It's not possible for me to win the game. You guys fight amongst yourselves, and I'll just keep it fair. And anytime someone got double teamed, I would go in and teleport all the shit away from them. It's like, go away! And then, like, Thanos would run off. It was very fun.
He was the bully.
I was like the goalkeeper. I was like, You're being mean. No manners. And just like teleport him into the nowhere. Like, goodbye. It's like, Omega Beam, 8 dice energy, and just like one shot somebody. It's like, stop being mean. Anyway, it was fun.
I got hit with the laser, the Iron Man laser. I don't know that that's okay. I don't know if that card's okay. By the way, side note.
In like a multiplayer game without a time limit, probably not.
I mean, it wasn't really. It's because it's infinite
I'm okay
range.
with a card saying spend 15 power to kill somebody. I'm fine with that.
It's like infinite range, right? Did I miss that? Or is it 5?
I don't think it's infinite range. It does ignore cover. Hold on, I'm pulling it up.
Maybe it's 5.
Helios Laser Bombardment. Range 5.
So it's 5.
2 dice.
Yeah, I got zapped by that one.
Yeah, it's fine. Oh, hold on. The fly landed. Must obliterate. Oh, we got it. Took a shot. It's still there. It's still going. No! Go away! Stupid fly. It's immune to bullets. I don't know what to do. Okay. So I think that's going to take us into our next topic. Today, because we're going to a con next week, or tomorrow, basically. We're going to Warfare Weekend for the Marvel Crisis Protocol event. Or I guess it's just open play. Jeremy? I thought there was a tournament.
There is open play. There is the scrambles with like 8-man tournaments, and then there is the large event that you can sign up for, which is the big tournament on Saturday. So there's all of it.
We're playing in the big tournament, right?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm doing something, man.
We're playing in the big tournament, or I'm going to beat the shit out of you. I can't imagine you guys are going to be playing in scrambles when the big event's going on.
I'm thinking probably a scramble on Friday when we get there. Probably do one of those, okay. And then Saturday.
That's fine. Yeah, get some warm-up games. That's fine. Yeah.
I'm going to do what I want. So anyway, don't tell me how to be.
No, I'll tell you what to do. That's what I do. Anyway, we're going to talk about what we normally do going to a con. So normally we go to a con for the entire time. This time, because we're only going for the MCP stuff, and MCP is still kind of a newer game. I think we're just going to go for Friday, Saturday. But anyway, we're just going to kind of cover some of the stuff that are kind of our traditional things we do, like how we prepare for it and like what our plans are. For the logistics standpoint, normally when I go to a convention, I try and go with at least 3 people. Jeremy and Parker are usually on the short list of people I ask to go first. And then we usually get a room. We split it like 3 ways. Someone will bring an air mattress, and we'll sleep on the floor. But it's usually a good time because you're hanging out with your buddies. But yeah, the conventions are great. One of the big benefits is that if you're trying to get better at something or just play new people, there's a huge amount of value in playing rapid games, like getting a lot of games in a short period of time. Because let's say you go to the game store and you play 1 game, and then you come back next week, you play 1 game. Come back next week, you play 1 game. You're going to forget so much of the new lessons you learned in that 1 week time frame that you're going to like massive diminishing returns on your experience gain. As where if you go to a tournament once a month and play 3 games in rapid succession, you will learn more on that day than you did in the 4 games that month by a long shot. Now, if you then don't play again for a month, then you'll pretty much be back to where you started. And so a lot of players that are finding themselves struggling at a new game that they're playing, it's usually just because they're not playing enough to get these lessons ingrained. Because if you play your list and you see, like, you make a mistake in deployment, well, if you're not going to play again for a week, you're going to forget what you messed up last time. And you're not going to be able to learn from your experience and immediately apply it. As where if you're at an event, you're going to play another game about 20 minutes after your last game ended, and immediately you're going to apply that knowledge in the game. And when you start applying the knowledge, it starts becoming a habit. And once you start building that muscle memory of how to play your list and how to play against other people's stuff, or just learning what new abilities are on cards you haven't seen before, you'll start to compound that experience and start to actually gain headway in your ability with your list. And so I think a lot of people, like, their biggest drawback when they're trying to get better at a game is they just don't play enough. Mm. Specifically, the time period between their games is too great.
So you're saying it's good for learning the game,
mm-hmm.
getting better at the game. But why is it that, I mean, what is it that you dig about going to the convention? Is it the competition, the fun, the people? Like what? Like, what is it that, because I mean, you're one of the people, along with myself, that go to like a lot of conventions when you can. Like, I used to go to probably 6 to 10 a year, and I was at everything, seeing everybody. And I know that you were doing that a lot.
When Mark III had just come out, I think it was 2017. No, it was further back than that. I think 2015. Fuck, I can't remember now. It's been a while now. I think Mark III's been out for like 4 or 5 years.
4 years, I believe. It's like 4.
Yeah, because I think I went to WTC in 2017. I think that's why I'm thinking 2017. So I think it was like 2015-ish when Mark III came out. Anyway, whichever year it was. When it first came out, Carl, my friend that moved here from Texas, had just moved to Kansas City, and we both found out that we both really like War Machine, and we both like really playing competitive games. And so we started playing all the time. Like, we were playing multiple times a week against each other. We would go to all of our local events. But Mark III had just kicked off, and people were starting to travel to play the new version of the game. And we went to every event within 6 hours of Kansas City in a 6-month period. And so we went to like 22 events in 26 weeks. And there was several times we would go to like, oh, well, we're going to drive to St. Louis for a tournament on Saturday and come back and play in a tournament in Kansas City on Sunday. Like, we were doing shit like that. Like, we got hundreds of games in a 6-month period. We drove down to Houston, Texas to play WTC practice weekend. So all the people on the World Team Championship U.S. teams were practicing in Houston. We weren't on the teams yet because nobody knew who the fuck we were, because we were nobodies. We had never won anything big. And so we drove all the way down there because we were friends with all of them because we go to all the same events. We just had never won them. And we played them all weekend. And I don't think we lost a single game of War Machine that whole weekend because we had just been playing so many reps over that period that we were just ahead of the meta. We were so confident in our ability to play our list, it didn't matter where our opponents had. Because even if they were also very good players playing good lists, they had never seen what we were doing yet because we were trying to find ways to get ahead of the meta. But anyway, I love going to large events like that, and it's weird because I'm very antisocial generally. I don't like talking to people that I haven't known for a long time. I don't like making new friends generally. But when you go to a convention like that, everyone there cares so much about the hobby. It's almost hard to not talk to people about stuff because you'll see like people playing a similar army to you, or people like, you know, trying stuff that you want to try. You'll see people have really cool looking armies because they've done like cool paint jobs on them and stuff. And everybody just cares so much about similar interests to you that it makes it so easy to hang out with people. And so that's one of the more fun parts. But also, I just like playing repetitive games. Like I want to challenge myself. I want to try and get better with my list. And you know, the whole point, like the reason we play these hobbies, because we enjoy the game, right? So it just lets you play more of the game. It's also like a vacation because you get away from like all the daily routine stuff. Like you're not playing a game after work. You don't have to get up in the morning to go to work. You don't have to deal with any of the other random stress of your life generally. It's just like 3 days by yourself with your friends playing games. Like, it's great.
Mm-hmm. It is otherworldly. The the part you just said, my favorite part is that you cut out all the stuff that gets in between you and that event. Like,
you're not worried about what you're going to make for dinner when you get home. You're not worried about like, any of that. Like, it's just like it's a vacation.
Well, it's even more. I'd say it's even more than that because even in a vacation, most vacations that you go on are actually pretty stressful because you have to go find a lot of the shit. Like, you're in a new place that you don't know.
Vacation wrong.
Right, like you're in a new place that you don't know, and you are usually exploring. Right, you're spending a lot of time exploring, which takes a certain amount of like physical and mental capital to like you're constantly spending to do that kind of stuff and to find things. And also, like you said, the people who are around you, and if you're not in a very touristy place, are locals that don't know you, and you don't necessarily care about the same things. But at a convention, especially if you stay at the hotel tied to the convention, you have no exploration, right? The exploration is just like the events there that are on the list, and you're instead spending a ton of time socially exploring with people who are doing something similar to you. And my favorite thing about a convention is I sit down at a table, any table in the room, and I go, "Hey, you want to play a game of my favorite game?" They go, "Yeah." Mm-hmm. And that's like it. Like that's the whole transaction. Like
it's
you can't.
So easy,
right?
But like anyone who's been to a War Machine convention, they printed up these slap bracelets that just says LFG on it, looking for game. And so if you're in what they call their open play area is Iron Arena, you just play games. They give you prizes, so you get like custom dice, you get tokens for the game, you get little measuring widgets. And one of the prizes is the LFG slap bracelet. And so you'll just sit in the Iron Gauntlet area or the Iron Arena area. You'll put on the slap bracelet and you'll just sit there and be like, "Hey, let's play." And you're like, "Okay." Like you don't even, like you don't even start a conversation. It's that easy. Everyone just wants to play games.
Yeah, I love that's my favorite part of cons. That kind of feeling. My other favorite part of cons was similar to you guys. Was meeting people. Jeremy, I met a bunch of your friends from where you used to live, and I remember my very first convention ever. I didn't know anybody except the few people from Kansas City who went, and you were one of those people. And I got introduced to a whole slew of people. We spent a ton of time together that day and that night, and it was amazing. I remember coming back going, I met the coolest people, and it was such a blast. I was hooked. Now I have a question. Now just shift it slightly. When you go to cons, are you excited about winning a whole bunch of games and winning big events, or are you excited just to go play games? Because I think there's a different mindset. There's a difference. Jeremy, go first. Jeremy, go first. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Do you want
that's interesting.
Win a bunch of games? Or do you want to play a bunch of games?
Well, my mindset has changed over the years. There was a point in time about when I moved to Kansas City where, like, I honestly felt like I was right there, like top 5 of the players. I mean, I felt really sharp, like I had the game down, practiced all the time. Like I knew I could win and be top if I just played a few more, and I was right there. Like that's what meant everything to me. I played as many games as I could. I wanted to win, and also hang out with friends. But yeah, winning was super important. What was the rest of your question? Like, what were you asking?
When you go to cons, do you want to win or do you want to just play games?
Yes, I still want to win. However, I know now I've got a ton to learn every game. Every game, people can teach me things about Marvel Crisis because, number one, there isn't a good meta. I don't think that the game is even close to being solved. And number two, I'm at a different age and time in my life where I don't need to win to have fun. It's fun to win, but there was a time where I did need to win, and it meant a lot more to me than it does now.
I think I'm well known as a super competitive, like, shark type gamer, but I don't view myself that way. I actually don't care about winning generally, but what I do care about is I'm craving doing it right. And so generally speaking, when I lose, it's because I messed up in some way. And so that's generally what I'm mad about. I'm not mad that I lost, if that makes sense. Like, I actually don't, like, especially, like, if there was a point in War Machine where all I cared about was winning, because I felt like I was at the point where I knew enough about the game that I basically wasn't going to make mistakes. And then it's just about proving that I was that good. And that's all I really wanted for like the winning. Like I wanted to win a qualifier for War Machine. I wanted to do well in the invitational events, but I didn't really care that I won the individual games, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Like I wanted to show that I had put in the work and I had achieved that level of play, because it was hard. Like War Machine was a hard game to be good at. It was difficult.
Mhm.
But like in this, yeah, I think a lot of people would watch me play and assume that all I cared about was winning. But I just want to play, like I want to make all the right decisions. I don't want to make any bad decisions. And if we get to the end of the game and I lose, it's like, okay, like that's fine, good job, like you beat me. Like I'm not upset about it. But generally when it's like, oh, on turn 4, I forgot to flip this point before I moved, or I chose to contest the wrong objective because I forgot about one of my rules or something. Or like I attacked the wrong model because I didn't realize that they had a stronger defense. Like stuff like that is what gets to me. It's not like I've been very upset about games I've won before, because the end result is irrelevant to me. It's all about the decisions made to get to the end result.
So you're just trying to, well, you kind of described when you were talking about what you used to do with, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name right now.
Carl?
Carl, yeah.
Carl.
You were focused on playing the tightest game you could possibly play, and so
Yeah.
that's what you wanted to try to do at the con also. That's
I can't tell you how many times we've traveled for an event and somebody saw like the lists I was playing and literally laughed in my face because they didn't know who I was. And they're like, oh, like, sorry, you got a bad matchup. I didn't know you were like a new player. I'm like, no, I'm just playing jank because I enjoy it, but I'm going to run your shit over because you don't know what you're doing.
right.
And literally like turn 2 killed them. And they're like, oh, well, and then they felt like a giant jackass. Because like, yeah, you should feel like a jackass. You were very rude. Like why are you making fun of somebody's list? Like because you don't know how to play it. Like it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Yeah. So let me add something in here. I really like the concept, especially with War Machine, in that a lot of us were searching for the perfect game, right? Like you're looking for that perfect setup, perfect game. Everything goes exactly as planned, and it was very rare. Like it was really the unicorn of War Machine. And I'll say I don't know that there's a Marvel Crisis perfect game because of those goddamn flip scenarios and eight-sided dice. It is much more swingy. My God.
I think it's much easier to get a perfect game of MCP than a perfect game of War Machine. Because when you take the dice out of it, because like RNG is not a decision. Now, not making the choice to remove the RNG, for like example, Parker playing Amazing Spider-Man over Spider-Man earlier, he didn't have the option to remove the dice from the situation.
Correct.
Right.
And so you could even argue that was the mistake, is if he's trying to play the perfect game, Amazing Spider-Man is not the perfect game model. Like regular Spider-Man would be, because you just go, I'm activating this ability, this happens, moving on. And then it's all up to what you decide to do with those abilities. So it's like, instead of trying to kill Beast to get him to drop the token, he could have like triple weblined him next to Miles, and Miles could have just taken it. Like that was an option theoretically available to him. And maybe you would have done a good enough job preventing that from happening to where he wasn't able to execute it. And that's the battle, right? Once you get to that point where it's like, okay, we both know the Senator is the game. Now what happens? And it's like, you're trying to position to prevent Webline from being effective. He's trying to remove the train from the scenario to make it more effective. And you guys are battling for order of operations to see what abilities go off in what order. It's like, that's what I care about. That game back and forth with my opponent is the essence of a game to me.
Yeah.
It's like, you walking up with freaking Valkyrie and yahtseeing an attack roll is completely irrelevant to skill at the game. And no one can argue that. Like, that doesn't matter. Like, you paying 2 power to charge and one-shotting Beast to get the objective back doesn't make you good at the game. Like, but doing these little minute things during the game to allow these situations to occur is what makes you good at the game. And sure, I'm not saying that you're bad at the game because you did option A, but, you know, having backup plans and like, what do you do when plan A fails? What do you do when your opponent throws a wrench into your plans by preventing your ability from working? It's like that kind of stuff. Like, what happens when your opponent puts Scarlet Witch in the way with no more mutants available? It's like, how do you get around that? Stuff like that is how you achieve like skill at the game.
So one thing that's fun at a convention is these are people you don't know. They're complete strangers a lot of times, and a lot of times they're not. A lot of people travel. But it's nice being able to be courteous and to not know somebody and not know like a lot of times we're all way too comfortable, right? Like,
Yeah.
we drop the dice, a couple bad rolls, and it's like you can go fuck yourself. Like it becomes like a total train wreck of a game. It's not any fun anymore. That can happen when you all know each other. But when it's a total stranger and you're being courteous and you're just playing the game, a lot of times I can have a terrible game with a complete stranger and feel just fine about it because I just rolled with it. I don't know this person, and all this, and it's like it's okay and it feels pretty cool. That's pretty nice. That's one thing that I really enjoy about a convention, is meeting all these new people and just having like, hey, cool, you did that. Okay, great. I can win, lose, whatever, and it's fine. It's not personal. It's not like it's not like
I have real life friends that I just met at conventions. Like I still message them all the time, and I haven't seen them in years because we don't play the same game anymore.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say so my experience with conventions is actually really awesome and amazing. Like, it's been a huge part of my life. I traveled mid-20s and moved to St. Louis, and the one thing I carried with me was a passion for 40K. And immediately I get into St. Louis. I was like, dude, who plays 40K? Got online, met some people, went up to a game store, met that group of people, became really, really good friends with them. Had to move again, moved to Syracuse, New York, who plays 40K. Found those people. We all met. Cool. Started playing War Machine together with those people. Moved from there back to Kansas City. Hey, who plays? The cool thing about a convention is you take all of these people and we all meet up again several times a year. I mean, call it, a hunting party, fishing party, whatever normies do, whatever these folks do with all their friends and they get whatever. I am blessed in that I can go to several times a year and meet up with some of my best friends ever and just almost time travel to the time I left. It's like I didn't even leave these people, which is fucking
it's like
phenomenal.
Summer camp. It's like as soon as you get back together, it's like, oh man, here we go.
Oh, and
it's all over again. Yeah.
This COVID thing has been such a kick to the nuts for that. But yeah, that's my number one now. It's not winning. I love seeing my friends and just taking a weekend and just doing whatever I want with my friends. I'm such a child.
I remember when like War Machine was maybe not in the best place sometimes over the years. We always talked about it's like even if several of us quit the game, like we'd still go to the convention
for sure.
and hang out. It's like we would find a way to go and like any excuse to get there. And like even if you're not playing games all weekend, who cares?
Dude, I played board games for 2 years.
Yeah. I went to Adepticon, didn't bring models one year. Like I literally did not bring a model with me. I was like, fuck it, I'm just hanging out all weekend.
Yeah.
I just hung out and drank with everybody. And when I said it was like a vacation, I think it's probably more apt to say it's like a cruise.
Yeah.
Because you're in this like self-contained little tiny resort.
Yeah.
Because even at a resort, usually sometimes you leave the resort. And that can happen. Like we've gone to movies and stuff, but it's basically like you go into this compound and it's basically sealed at the perimeter for 3 days and you just hang out with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can go out and get food and stuff, but basically, everything's there for you. Especially the place we're going, like they have a strip mall / boardwalk kind of area right outside the hotel. So like I'm not going to get into a car probably for the entire time we're there.
So best convention and why? What's your favorite, Parker? How many of you have you been to a bunch, Parker, or just a couple?
I've been to.
I want to bring up a point before he gives his
Sure.
answer.
Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say that it's a lot like a lot of things. There's multiple tiers to this. There's traveling for events, which is just going to other tournaments outside of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like whatever like couple game stores you probably go to. There's the tournaments at those stores. Just traveling for events in general is like making 1-day trips to go to other stores within like 2 to 4 hours of your place and playing there first. And you'll meet a lot of those people that we're talking about there because it's like the people that go to cons go to all of the local events generally. So you'll still meet a lot of the same people at those events. So like, for example, we live in Kansas City and I go to fairly commonly St. Louis tournaments, Arkansas tournaments, occasionally Oklahoma tournaments, and occasionally Nebraska tournaments. And so those are tournaments we'll travel to just because, like in addition to conventions. Then conventions, there's different levels, and there's like the small local convention. For us, that's like Recruits or Meeple-a-thon we just had. That's like usually 20 to 40 people, and it's generally not anybody from more than like 2 to 4 hours away. Then there's like a regional convention, which is like what we're going to this weekend. It's Warfare Weekend. It's really only going to get people from the Midwest. But even that said, there's probably going to be several hundred people there. And I can probably name a third of them just because I've been going to these conventions. And there's probably like 10 or 12 of them throughout the year when there's not COVID. And so, like, I've been going to these events for like 10 years now. And so, like, I'll see somebody I've seen so many, or I've played games with before. And it's like, oh, hey, what's up, man? It's like, even if you don't know them. And then there's like the national level events, like Adepticon and Gen Con and like NovaCon and the Las Vegas Open, stuff like that, where people come from literally all over the country. And those are a little bit harder to run into your friends with unless you like schedule in advance, because there's like thousands of people at those. But anyway, that's all I want to say. There's just like, know what you're getting into. I would probably start by just traveling to local events in your area and then maybe moving up to an event like the one this weekend.
To answer your question, my favorite convention ever was my very first War Machine weekend, because that was the very first time I'd ever been. Like,
oh yeah,
I had gone out of my city, like Brandon's describing. I'd gone out of my city for events tons of times because I was totally willing to drive to do regular tournaments, or for X-Wing they had things like store championships, where regional events that would feed into larger events. But my favorite thing was that original War Machine weekend, the very first one that I went to. And the first one I went to, I think, was War Machine weekend, like number 3 or 5 or something like that. And it's funny, I have never been able to recreate like the magic of that first one. And I've tried to like look for that same feeling of like awe and holy crap, everybody's here doing the same thing I love, and meeting like your friends from what felt like, worlds away, and instantly having so much fun.
Yeah.
And like staying up till like 2 or 3 or whatever the hell we were staying up, playing games. And I was so excited about everything. Man, I was definitely, there were stars in my eyes that entire weekend. Like everything about it felt so great. And I think it was probably another thing, was like the time in my life I was just adulting for the very first time, and I felt very much like I was adulting. Everyone there was, older than me, or felt eons older than me, and because they knew everything about it. And also, another thing that was blowing my mind is people who made the game were there. That's another thing that I love, is that people who made the game were there, and they were wanting to know my name and what I was doing with their game, and I was telling them what I liked about it, and they cared to listen to me. And I remember just thinking about, like, I know the guy who's on the book that I love to read. Like, I met the author of this book and I told him how much I cared about this passage and why, and he was touched, and he was excited to share with me the thing he's working on now about the fluff that I love. And I got to hear that from his mouth. And I talked to another gal who wrote for Privateer Press. And I remember coming home just like with a laundry list of things that I loved. And of course I competed in the events, and I felt like I did great, and I really enjoyed that. So man, that very first War Machine weekend was the best one ever. I also went to Adepticon. Adepticon was super fun because Chicago was really fun. I had never been to Chicago before. I think there were a lot of things about that were a blast.
The pizza.
The deep dish pizza is amazing.
Like Lou Malnati's.
Yes, Lou Malnati's. But shout out to Lou Malnati's. My favorite moment at that Adepticon was actually, I was sitting in the hotel bar, and it was like 1:30 in the morning.
Is this a hooker story, bro?
No, I was sitting in the hotel bar.
I can tell you hooker stories about Adepticon.
I was sitting in the hotel bar, but I was just having like a glass of ice water, and no one was around me. I wasn't talking to anyone. I was just sitting there looking at lists, like reviewing what kind of thing I wanted to do the next day. Because my thing, Brandon's favorite thing, is to play the same list over and over again and find this like little niche list that does really well. My favorite thing is how many completely different lists can I play in a weekend. I will way overpack because I know
what a waste of time.
I will try to play everything I own, and I love playing everything I own in a weekend. That's so fun to me.
All the toys.
Man.
Also at conventions, oftentimes they will the merchandise. They'll often bring merchandise that is very new or sometimes even pre-released. So yeah. I loved like breaking out the early merchandise as fast as I could and putting the models together or whatever it is as quickly as I could and putting them down on the table. I love that kind of exclusive. The swag for me is I love coming back with a little pin or a token or a dice. Yeah, like getting a cool dice for playing in this event or something like that. I live for that shit, like acrylic tokens and all that stuff. Anything personalized that says my favorite faction or affiliation on it. Oh, please. If I went to a con and if they told me that the con you guys are going to, you could get like acrylic versions of faction, affiliation like shit, I would find a way to get there more. I would try real hard because that's the kind of thing I love.
By try real hard, you mean you'd spend $300 on eBay?
That's the kind of shit I do when I don't get to go to conventions. Is I will seek that stuff out, secondhand, and sometimes I will seek it out secondhand, and because I really want it. The other thing is I miss because I wasn't there to have it. That's my favorite version of it. Is I don't like buying it. I like actually going there when they gave it out and to meet the people who created it and get excited with them about enjoying the game so much and parting as part of the collection. I love that's one of my favorite things about cons is playing as many things as I can, getting as much like random swag as I can, and I don't need to get a trophy or win, but I love all that stuff. But my favorite one by far was War Machine Weekend, back when it was War Machine Weekend, and I learned very quickly War Machine Weekend. I don't know if it was just the kind of dilapidation, all good things must come to an end. But I got there at the tail end of when War Machine Weekend was really at its heyday. So I felt like I had one fantastic time, and all the other War Machine Weekends after that were worse until eventually it kind of dwindled away for me. And now Adepticon is my favorite thing, but didn't get to go last year. COVID.
Jeremy, I'm interested to hear what yours is. I'm going to tell mine real quick, but I think mine has to be the first Adepticon I went to. Also, the first Adepticon, and it wasn't like any particular single thing that happened at Adepticon, but oh man, the whole thing was so fun. Like start to finish, I was so excited. I was really nervous going in because, like, oh man, these games are gonna we have to try so hard in these games, and normally I get all sweaty, like not like physically sweaty, but like I get so try hard in games that I think matter, and so they get extra stressful. And then conveniently we lost immediately, so that was easy because then from then on it was just like fuck it, who cares? Like there's no way we're gonna win this tournament. We played in the team championships for 40K at the first Adepticon I went to. But we were just trying to win Best Painted. We weren't trying to actually win the event. And so we were only somewhat trying, but we had practiced for weeks with our lists. And it was the way the team tournament works, there's four team members on each team. There was, I think, 125 teams in the one I went into. So there's basically 500 or 600 people in this one event. And so it's crazy try hard. Anyway, I got picked to play Blood Angels. We were all playing Loyalist factions. We were doing pre-heresy. Like the actual Siege of Terra was our display board. And so I played Blood Angels. My roommate at the time, Ben, he played White Scars. My friend Ryan from St. Joe played Grey Knights, who he did counts as Custodes at the time because there weren't Custodes back then. And then the other guy we had played Imperial Fist. His name was Mike. And all of our models were Forge World, all kinds of cool stuff. And I was playing Dante and some Sanguinary Guard, and I had a Bale Predator. It was super fun because we were just screwing up. But the way the tournament works is every round of the four rounds, you get paired with one of your 3 random teammates. And then the last round, you get to pick. So one of your 2 setups, you'll get to play twice. The rest of them, you only get to play once. But anyway, and then you play against whoever your opponent is. And it was super fun. But the best part was just the convention stuff. Black Library was there. I got to meet Dan Abnett, the writer of one of my favorite Horus Heresy books. I got him to sign multiple books that I took back with me. I gave a couple away as gifts that year. It was pretty cool. I meeting I didn't know anybody there, so meeting people wasn't fun yet. That didn't start happening until I started playing War Machine. I started recognizing people, and that's super fun. But yeah, I think it was my first con just because it was so exciting. And there's there's so many memorable cons. It's hard to pick one. But anytime I think about it, I always have this fond memory of Adepticon because it was the first one.
Adepticon.
So Jeremy, what's your favorite con?
Adepticon's a good one. I have a lot of memories. Go ahead. What were you asking?
Are you just saying specifically which of the cons is your favorite, or what specific con you went to?
The specific one. That's what I'm asking. Okay. Not which is the best con to go to.
Right.
Was that your answer to that question? Or
no, my answer is the first Adepticon I ever went to.
There you go.
If I had to pick something, it was the other one, then I might have a different answer.
I mean, I do love Adepticon for those reasons, and it's exactly the team tournament in 40K. I mean, we practiced for months for that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool, but that's not my favorite one. My very favorite one was back in the day, TempleCon. It was at an old-timey hotel that it was very gothic and fucking awesome. And it was a mixture of cosplay and 40K and War Machine and all the fucking most badass things that I was just like, it was like being in a dream state because they had 24-hour gaming as well. So I'd never heard of such a thing. Also, the restaurants stayed open 24 hours, so you lost track of day and time. No day, no night. So we would we'd eat breakfast at like 4 a.m. You don't know what time it is. Then you'd eat lunch at whenever. It was crazy.
You just know if it's dark or light outside. That's all you. And even only if you're close to the windows. It's like Vegas. Like you don't even know what day it is.
And that's where I remember playing my first Death Clock game, and I was like, "This is fucking phenomenal." And all I did is I kept getting stomped by Bane Knights, game after game. And I'm like, this game is fucking crazy and amazing, and I got to figure this out. No, it was surreal. That thing was surreal. That's why it was my favorite.
I hope you brought your 3-ring binder of errata.
Jesus Christ. That was Mark I War Machine, folks.
Yeah.
If you never played that, whew.
Just to clarify how stupid Mark I War Machine was. Like, people complain about rules nowadays.
Do it quickly. Do it quickly.
This was a rule in Mark I
I don't want to hear about this again. This is
No. This was a rule in Mark I War Machine. Boulder 1's feat, characters had a once per game feat they could use on their turn. And the once per game feat was a model cannot end its turn closer to Boulder 1 than it started. And so the clarification online was, if a Warjack charges Boulder and fails to kill him, that is an illegal game state. You must rewind to the previous legal game state. So you would rewind to before the Jack charged him, and then continue play. And so you would just charge him again, and just keep doing it until eventually you killed him because you got God dice. That was the actual clarification. It's like, geez, and this is right before Deathlocks was like a thing. And so you just played on round timers. And so if he feeded and you mathematically could kill him in a single charge, you could just keep trying until you eventually got it. It was fucking stupid. That's how bad the rules were back then. Anyway.
So TempleCon, I have a specific memory. I was playing a game. God knows how long I'd been up. I don't know. It was completely crazy. I'm playing a game, and in my view, from behind the dude's head, is a stage. And on the stage is like industrial steampunk women's band, half naked, dancing on stilts and fire is coming out. And I'm trying to concentrate on one of the hardest tabletop games ever made.
Yeah.
And I just kept looking up, and I'm like, is this fucking real? Like, these chicks are like half naked.
Is this a dream?
Yeah.
Am I in Hellraiser? What is happening?
Dude, it's a trip, man. That was a trip.
I remember one year for Adepticon, my boss wouldn't give me vacation time for literally no reason. He just was a dick. Like, there was no reason I couldn't go, but he wouldn't give me vacation time. So I left work, directly from work, and drove myself to Adepticon. Everybody else was already there because they all left 2 days prior. And so Friday at 5 p.m., my shift ends. I get on the highway right from work, drive to Chicago. I sleep not at all night one. Like, I get there at like 4 a.m. and people are up already because they're like, they got to get ready for like 6 a.m. tournaments and stuff. So I just hang out with them, stay awake all through the night. I drove through the night to get there, hang out all day. And then I realized that it's like 4:30 in the morning the next day before I realized that I haven't slept yet. So like, I should go get some sleep. I go to my room that the people I'm staying with. I sleep for maybe 3 hours. Like it's like 4:30 in the morning. I get up at 7. Like, go downstairs, get ready for the tournament I'm playing in, play in the tournament, and then the next night, it's Sunday already, I drive home. Like, I drive home at 5 p.m. and get home at 4:30 in the morning. I have to get up for work at 7. I slept 3 hours in 3 days. And I drove for 17 hours of that time.
Oof. Those are tough.
That was a whirlwind of a weekend.
I wanted to say something based on what Jeremy said. If you are excited about this game, if you're listening to this podcast, you must be a little bit excited about this game. If you never go outside of your small meta, that you are missing something enormous about this game, which is the very first time you get like you you get your tank tickled, right? Where you're just like, I'm comfortable with this game. I must know what's going on. And then you go somewhere else. You're like, wait a minute. I have no idea what's going on. That happened to me the very first time it was in War Machine. The very first time I left Lawrence and came to Kansas City Meta to play in a tournament. And in Lawrence, I felt like really strong. I felt amazing. I had no idea I was in a kiddie pool.
How dare you? With such greats out of Lawrence?
I felt strong because here's the other thing. I knew the game.
Big fish, small pond. Yeah.
Yeah, but I knew the game in an encyclopedic way, right? Like I could tell you the stat from every
it's like I can tell you any stat on any model in the game. I can tell you any rule verbatim.
Right. So I felt so confident because I was doing like 4 or 5 games a week of War Machine in college. I had nothing else to do, so I was playing so much of that game. And I, kind of like you said, like I had mastered Cygnar. There's something I couldn't figure out in Cygnar. And so, but what I hadn't played was anybody else who had mastered anything else. And so
everybody you're playing was like, hadn't gotten to that level yet.
Right. And so basically, yes, I was walking over everybody and they were getting tired of playing me. So I went to another place and all of a sudden somebody was playing, Bane Knights was you're a good example. Somebody was playing Bane Knights was like, I've never gone up against somebody who was willing to buy 40 Bane Knights. That is a monster. Like that. This is really terrifying. I remember, it's funny. So I immediately started to lose in the tournament. And I finally got down to a person who had never played against my characters before. And he's like, I'm going to do this cool thing. And I looked at his stuff and I went, wait a minute. And so I used a single spell. And he goes, okay, I'm going to react to that. And I go, you cannot. And he goes, what do you mean I cannot? And I goes, because I know what you do, and my thing just says you cannot. And he goes, what? And I remember at that moment going, I just did the thing that was being done to me in round 1 to you now in round 2. I did it because you obviously never seen this thing before. Because in your meta, you would never, no one ever bothered to try it. So you felt like he thought he was going to roll right over me because his army always does, and he couldn't because I was playing not a foil, but I just knew how to stop it, and I would have never had that moment if I hadn't like left my environment. And a con is that every hour, like you're saying, because there's so much. I remember that moment when those 2 rounds of that one random tournament in Independence, Missouri, but a con is that every hour, just like 48 to 72 hours of that straight. It's just so much.
Well, even on top of that though, because you would imagine after basically exclusively dedicating 3 days of your life to playing this one game, you would imagine that you'd be completely drained, right? Mm-hmm. Of this desire to play this game.
No.
But the opposite is generally true. Well, on the way home, on the drive home, you're always like, man, I cannot wait to get home and try all this new stuff I learned against all my friends and play all these new things I've never played before because I now understand how they work because I've seen it happen. Yeah. And then it's like, oh man, and then you usually have a lot more like painting energy as well because you've seen so many cool armies. You're like, oh man, I wish my army looked that cool. So now you want to go home and paint your stuff.
I always bought so much 40k shit immediately returning from Adepticon.
Yeah, you get back, you're like, fuck this, I'm playing Sisters. Like, give me all the Sister stuff. It's like, calm down, Jeremy.
I remember one year, I got back from Adepticon, the 9-hour drive. I immediately got in my car, and my ex-wife is like, where are you going? I'm like, I gotta go buy some models. And she was like, didn't you just get back? I'm like, I don't have those. You got so much. I'm like, I don't have those.
Don't judge me.
Yeah, I spent like $300 or whatever. It's just so stupid.
It lights that fire under you because you see that you've like made it so far, but everything ahead of you looks so fun. It's like learning to paint for the first time. Like it's so tedious and annoying until you get to the part where you see the accomplishment, right? When your first model, you look at it and you go, oh, this looks good. It, boom, like you've got the fire and you want to do more now. It's like you want to make more models that look good. And so it's the same thing. It's like, oh man, I just did so good at this game. Like, even if you didn't win everything, like, it's fine. It's like, I did so great because like I held my own versus these other great players. And then you go home, you're like, man, I got to get better now. Like, and you just want to keep going.
Mm-hmm. Everything about a con is fantastic. Now, okay, and now I have a question for you guys specifically because I feel like we can wrap this up. We've done a good job covering cons.
No.
But
there's a whole segment left.
I wanted wrap this conversation up. I wanted to ask, is part of your process sharing what you're going to do at cons? Because, both of you, but, Brandon, you've said that you like to practice a lot before you go to a con. Do you share what you're going to do at the con with people? Are you excited to share? Or are you very protective? You actually want to come to that game and you want them to experience the buttfuckery firsthand.
The chicanery.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that this is a question because I literally developed a podcast to talk about what I'm playing on a weekly basis.
Uh-huh.
But I think it's smart to keep it guarded a little bit, because especially if you come up with something actually new. But I think that's pretty rare at the point you get to a convention level. But as a person, I think that every game is designed to be as open information as possible. If you ever go through any actual lengths to conceal what you're playing or subterfuge in any way, I think that's extremely bad manners. And not saying that people would do it to a malicious extent, but yeah, anybody wants to know what I'm playing, you can ask me. But the thing is, though, because this game is so fresh and we've been so casual with it, we haven't really been pushing really hard on this game. We've been actively trying to play new stuff we haven't tried before.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
That I don't know what I would play. I don't have a go-to list anymore. I had one for a brief period, but the game's evolved a lot since then.
Oh, actually,
yeah,
go ahead.
I feel right now that I could kind of throw anything at the wall and play it to a reasonable level, but I don't think I'm good with anything.
Actually, I'm going to go to a follow-up question. This is exactly something that I have actually encountered before myself, is I was basically turned off to a list in my local meta because it was so... it created a negative play experience for others. It was dominating, and it didn't feel very good for other people, and they wanted to play things that it wasn't good into, and in order to be
the guy that played Haley 1 for 6 months.
There you go. I mastered Haley 1, and people did not enjoy that process. So
mastered Haley 1.
I
learned how to spend 4 power in my fucking
I attempted
power
to call it whatever
Let's
you
all
want.
bow down to Parker, the master of casting temporal barrier.
I don't know.
Christ.
You guys don't understand. Casting temporal barrier is really hard.
It's very difficult.
It's
I have to
difficult
say,
spell.
I'm activating my caster at any point during my turn. Actually lift up 4 heavy tokens that say focus on them and say the words temporal barrier, get fucked, idiot, and then end my turn.
He actually creates a Horcrux every time he did it.
Yeah, it split his soul in twain.
I have to kill something small and precious so that my soul
and then the new Horcrux that was formed were his opponent's tears.
So the point is, you don't play something in your local meta because it's a negative play experience. It's oppressive, and so you avoid the oppression. You have said that you stopped. One of the reasons why you stopped playing Magneto is because you felt like it was getting oppressive. You don't feel like people were enjoying you playing it. So would you be more apt to break that out at a con because you feel like maybe people around you might be tougher, or they're just not your local meta, so you can help them explore that?
I got you. So yes, I would be far more apt to bring a what's the term, a try-hard list to a convention than I would to a local event. But it's not because I don't think that the people in my area can play against it. I just think it gets old. I think that you do need to play it occasionally so it doesn't get left out of the meta. And because if people aren't trying to solve for it, you won't solve for it.
True.
But yeah, once you get to a point where it's all right, well, we know that you need to do X and play X to beat me, but you don't want to do that every time, and I don't want to play this every time. And so eventually you need to put it down and move on and try other things or try to evolve. But at a convention where you're okay, this list gives me X, I'm going to play it, and if people don't know how to beat it, that's their problem. And that's fine. In fact, that you're meant to develop these hardcore lists at home and then bring them to beat the enemies, if that makes sense. It's like a football team. We're the home team, right? Everyone at my store is the home team. And we're trying to beat everybody else at the convention. We want our store to be the best. Mm-hmm. In fact, some conventions I've been to, you actually played, as a team. Your store would be as a team. The Muse Cup that was that way for a while, where it's you would go to this traveling convention, and then you would all sign up as we're the Geekery team, or we're the Kansas City team. And you would just rack up points by winning. and then whatever team got the most wins at the end of it won the cup, and then you hosted the next one and people came to try and beat you. It's like stuff like that. Like it was very like friendly competition of like, we want to do well. And so that's exactly the kind of situation you want to bring those try hard, like not fun lists, because we all know that we're here to win. Like there's no like, we're playing for casual funsies. Like, this is a tournament, we came to win, you came to win, let's have a good time and be friendly, but like the goal is to win the game, guys. Like, you don't play to lose the game, you play to win the game. But personally, at a convention specifically, there's almost a very strict social like rule set that some people don't understand. And so you need to be friendly to people, you need to be honest with people, and you need to be open with people. If you start like being a jackass to somebody, that's very not cool. Like, if you're like lying about how your abilities work, like any form of intentional cheating, like, guys, come on, like, no way. Like, that shit is not cool. If you have a problem with someone in your local meta that is like doing things like extra measurements or like moving models out of turn or like fudging dice or something, it's like this is not the kind of like portrayal, like because if you travel as a group, that's going to be viewed as like, you guys are as a group okay with this behavior, and it's just not okay. Like, this stuff is not cool. We're all spending vast amounts of time, money, and energy to travel to an event to make friends and play a game, and if you come there intending to cheat to win games, dude, you just need to fucking grow up. Like, stop. Like, that's not cool. And so you'll see this sometimes from like people that haven't gone to conventions before, and they think that because the goal is to win, any means necessary is justified, and it's absolutely not. And because that gets out real fast who the cheaters are, and it's very not appropriate. Usually what happens the first time like stuff like this gets brought up is you do what's called get their full attention. And so now if you're going to be bad manners to me, I'm now going to use every legal avenue I have to run you into the ground and make this not fun for you. And that's not fun. Nobody wants to have two people like being dicks to each other, right?
What was your question again, Parker? We got off on a thing.
Do you bring the bad manners list to conventions?
No, my first question was actually, do you display your list? Are you excited to tell people about what you're bringing, or do you hide it? And my follow-up question was, do you bring an oppressive list that you might shield people from in your local environment because you have to play them a bunch?
Gotcha. So I'll just say what I'm doing this time. This time,
secret tech.
No. This time was all about vocabulary of the game. There's 100 models out approximately, somewhere in there. And I wanted to be able to look across the table and know kind of what they do and not have anything that's just like, God, I have no idea. So I've played everything when it comes out, whatever the new models are. They've been on the table at least once, almost. There's a couple I haven't messed with, but that was my goal into this point. And then the last 2 weeks, I've stuck with X-Men and whatever the splash of the day was. And my goal is to be competent in the models that I'm playing, with the tactics cards I'm playing, with the crisis that I'm playing. Just competent enough to move shit around and know what's up without having to look at my cards. That's really all I'm trying to do at this convention. And then by the time I leave it, I hope to be better. That's my goal. I don't care so much. I want the list to be better than some, and I think I can beat a lot of people, but I mean, there's plenty of people that are way better and have better lists than I'm taking, so that's fine too. I'm okay with that.
Cool.
Are you willing to bring an oppressive list to a tournament, or you don't think this one is?
He's saying not this one specifically, but in general, Jeremy, do you think it's okay to bring the try-hard list, basically?
Oh, it's okay to do whatever you want, because I can tell you, one of my favorite things is to smash people that bring those lists. I don't care what people bring, 100%. It matters not to me. The only thing I do not like is if everyone has agreed that is by far the very best list you can take, and this happened in War Machine with that goddamn Ghost Pirate list. What exactly were those people who were running that trying to show the world? Nothing. Nothing.
No, yeah.
That was
Try going to world championships with that when that was legal.
That to me is not okay.
Fucking cancer.
I look across the table and I'm just like, You really are not a good person. I just don't get it. Like, whatever, you win.
No, but I think it's totally fine to bring that stuff to the bigger events. But yeah, if you're playing that in your like local like game night stuff, yeah, you need to stop. Like that's too much, guys. It's like, what are you proving by grinding people into dust?
Nothing.
Like, that's not doing it. Like, we know that this list is overpowered. The only reason that it's not banned yet is because the people at the wheel are asleep.
Mhm.
Like, it just makes no sense.
Yeah, kicking puppies is stupid. There's no reason to do that.
Yeah,
Obviously, if they're asking for practice against it, that's a different situation.
Sure.
But like,
yeah,
and I love innovation as well, and I think that's a piece of this. I mean, and Brandon kind of brought it up a little bit too, like that innovation. Like, have you created anything? Like, I always have to feel like I need to
ignore the list. You'll never find the counter.
Yeah,
which is actually kind of a problem. Like, Crix was so broken in War Machine and Mark II, and like we say it was crazy broken. They had a 55% win ratio. Like they won 55% of their games. That was how much of an outlier it was. It's like, there's stuff in 40K that dwarfs that win percentage, but 40K is constantly churning over new codexes, so it's hard to keep track of like what was broken for how long. But in War Machine, like the Crix list we're talking about, not the Ghost Pirate one, but the original like good Crix list, the Lich list, that list was good for like 6 or 8 years, like basically untouched. Like, it was good forever, and they just refused to nerf it. It was very annoying. But there were things that could handle it. But it was very specific things. So if you went to a big convention, you had to dodge that for like 6 rounds. And so that was a lot harder than just going to a 3-round local event and nobody's playing the thing that counters you. Because when you're going to a convention, you know that like 20% of the players are going to have this. A lot of the people show up with the counter, and so it kind of keeps them in check. It's just unfortunate if you hit them in the early rounds.
That's the one thing I didn't like about that's one thing I didn't like about convention play. Tournament specifically. It's actually one of the reasons where I was going to be like, I switched away from trying to win tournaments because I basically found out that tournaments are such a luck of the draw, like by themselves. It's designed by success by design is really hard in a tournament style bracket where single elimination I can control your progress. So if I'm trying to design a list that does really, really well to most everything in the game, and it's not going to get countered, it's such a losing game to do that. It's such a losing battle to do that. And so what I would do is I would go, okay, I'm going to play these lists that are good against 95% of the field, and if these 5% show up somewhere, I'm probably going to have to chuck it or just get really, really fantastic. Hope they can't play it. And so, like, that's actually what used to be my old strategy.
Sometimes it works.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't know what they're doing. They just get free wins because they're playing broken shit.
Yeah. Sometimes I would purposely go, well, the people who are playing this list would have to be a really high ceiling player. Because this thing that beats me doesn't beat me if because it's very complicated. You're playing with instead of playing a dynamite, you're playing with a nuclear weapon. It's insanely strong, but you have to know how to work a nuclear weapon. So I'm hoping that they don't know what they're doing when I play against them, because if they do, they're just going to roll right over me no matter what I can try, or nearly whatever I can try. And one of the things about this game, and I'll just say bring it back to Marvel, because we talked a lot about the other things, because we haven't done a lot of conventions for Marvel yet. One of the things I'm excited about Marvel is because this game is so undecided, because the affiliations are really just suggestions and they don't really like control every model you have, because you're not tied down to a lot in this game. I feel like it will be actually the skill of the player and a bit about the 8-sided dice that will determine how you win, and not what I bring. I'll very rarely say, oh man, if I had only brought a totally different affiliation, I could have won 6 rounds in a row. I don't know if I'll be able to say that as much. I think it'll mostly come down to my strategic and tactical decisions at the table board rather than what I brought with me.
I don't think the matchups are as important in this game as they are in War Machine. War Machine, the RNG that exists in the game was very, very consistent. So it was really hard to play out of a hole. Right. If you got matched up and you were like a 40-60 split, that's basically dead to rights unless you were better than the other person. Like, you could very rarely play out of a hole. In this game, because of the random RNG and the order of activations, shared turn stuff, it's much easier to play out of a hole by your opponent making a mistake or you just getting clever.
Yeah, I like I think I would. I'm a little sad I'm not going with you guys because I think seeing MCP at a con would be really interesting because it'd be totally different than any of the other games I've played, where everything felt kind of like rock paper scissors. This is one of the first games I've played that does not feel like rock paper scissors, and so I think I would be interested to see how that develops in like a 6-round format. I would not be in it to try to win the whole thing, but I think it'd be fun to try it and see what occurs if I actually played a larger tournament with this game.
Jeremy, I'm gonna have to bring my camera.
Why for?
To record games at the convention.
Okay.
Just giving you a heads up.
Whatever. I got a big
You
ass
need that
vehicle.
trunk space.
I got a big ass vehicle, man. We're good.
Okay. Cool. All right. I think we're about done with cons. I love cons. I think more people should try them. I know it's expensive and time consuming, but man, it's fun.
That, and I think also, like, people get in this weird mindset of competitive this, competitive that. I don't want that experience. I got to tell you, I don't remember any of the games I've won. What I remember is going to eat pizza and fucking hanging out with people and, like, a dumb moment here or there on the tabletop. But most of the games I don't remember. It's not like that.
It's just you take a normal, like, casual weekend tournament with your buddies that, like, on those rare occasions you go out to dinner after the event, and you just turn that up to 11. Like, it's just that for 3 days straight. It's so great.
Yep. Keep a positive attitude, man. That's the key. Just be positive. Have a good time.
And I don't want to say, like annoying and, like, unfun people don't come to events, but it sure seems like the best players, like, not the best players, like technical players, but, like, the best people from each, like, area are the ones that tend to travel, it seems like.
People you don't like to hang out with generally don't like to hang out with those other people. Like, you know, people who are friendly and have lots of friends tend to be the people who go. So it doesn't really create an environment where dickheads like to live. It really is.
Yeah. Cool. All right, let's move on to the next segment. I think
we
beat this to death, but we mostly just rambled because it was a fun time. So our next topic quickly is going to be the Marvel Crisis Agreement. We did this topic last week without Parker. We're going to do it this week with Parker.
Nice.
And in fact, Parker is going to give us the conundrum.
Okay.
Parker, please give us the double dub.
Okay, so this is a translated from a simplified Chinese. It is a tactics card. I'll give you that as a category, a tactics card.
Category tactics card.
So the tactics card, double translated through Chinese, is seriously injured. Seriously injured. I play seriously injured.
Grievous wounds.
Okay. Wait, no! Did you get it?
You have to
we didn't explain the rules. Hold on, let's explain the rules real quick.
Okay, what's the rules?
So, as a group, the people who did not put forth the conundrum get 3 guesses at what the thing is. And then after that, we failed or we've succeeded.
Okay.
So, next time, run it by me, Jeremy. Parker, was he correct?
Was the grievous wounds?
That's what I said.
It was grievous wounds. It was grievous wounds.
It was grievous wounds?
Nice. The guys got on the first try.
Good job.
All my Mandarin is paying off.
Yeah. I took 10 years of Mandarin.
By the way, grievous wounds in Mandarin is Zhaoshang.
And by the way, I took 10 years of Mandarin means I watched the Iron Man 3 movie and it felt like 10 years.
Oh, no, that's Zongshang. Sorry, Zongshang. Zongshang is seriously injured, otherwise known as grievous wounds, or the best translation, I guess.
Add that to your vocab, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, Parker, I believe you have a corner to comic for us?
Yes, I do. So if you watch some What If, spoiler alert, one of the What If episodes features zombies. I don't think I'm spoiling anybody because that's what it says on the name of the episode. But in that, they do Marvel Zombies, and for those of you who don't know, Marvel Zombies was a very successful, it was a joke at first. Like there was no intention that Marvel Zombies was going to be anything other than kind of a like a one-shot funny kind of, I got time and we'll make 4 or 5 issues of a funny thing. What if zombies attack the Marvel Universe? And it turned into a big deal, and it was such a fan favorite. They made several of them, but I actually want to focus on Marvel Zombies number 3, the graphic novel, the third, because it introduced one of my favorite characters to the zombie universe and also brought him back, and it's Machine Man. Machine Man is actually he's on my short list of things I really want to see added to Marvel Crisis Protocol, and they might do it because he's become such he's a weird side character that
not gonna happen.
That basically he used to be a very he's an android, and he used to be a very like B superhero that showed up randomly in Fantastic Four and issues and things like that. until he was completely redone, a la like Dark Knight treatment that the Batman received from in a comic book that I'm going to do another time called Next Wave: Agents of Hate. And basically they turned him into this very sardonic, like Bender from Futurama kind of character, if Bender also had a bad Oedipus complex. And he shows up as a super secret agent that's going to help solve the multiversal crisis of the zombies are trying to spread into other universes. And so on our primary Earth, they're going to try to send him out to another universe to try to stop them, because he really likes killing people, but he doesn't want to kill like actual people because he has this horrible conscience that he hates that he has. Think like Pinocchio, if Pinocchio hated that he had a conscience. And so when they give him the opportunity to go to other universes to murder people, he's super excited about it. And he goes and very sardonically murders a whole bunch of zombies. And, awesomeness ensues. So if you're a fan of the zombie genre, also the Marvel Universe, if you like that What If episode and you want to see some other takes on this, Marvel Zombies #3 is super fun. It also features one of my favorite Marvel superheroes that does not get enough panel nor screen time, and that's Machine Man. The new version of him, where this is super sardonic, sarcastic, Bender type android, is amazing.
He's like K2SO.
Yeah, K2SO is another good analog. Although I think he has more aggression than K2SO. K2SO is kind of like a
he's very dark, as where K2 is very light and funny. Yeah,
he is very one of my favorite. It's exactly what you think of when you think of this like super aggressive character. At one point, I don't have the panel in front of me, and it makes me sad. He happens upon a room with zombies feeding on people that they've grown in vats, like they're using cloning technology to grow people in order to eat them. And he says,
That's the thing that surprised me about Marvel Zombies. It seems like the take they took on zombies, they still keep a vast amount of their intelligence.
Yeah. So their take is, yes.
That's what threw me.
Yes, the Marvel Zombies have a vast amount of their intelligence. They just have this, never-ending hunger. So, yeah, like Reed Richards is
what happens when, Hulk gets turned into a zombie and then has the mental capabilities of Bruce Banner and just wants to infect other people. It's like, well, how do you stop him then? It's impossible.
Mm-hmm. Well, but they do cleverly write some things. For example, Doctor Strange, whenever he is a zombie, but whenever he was turned into a zombie, he suffered terrible brain damage. They ate part of his brain in order to change him, mm-hmm. And so he can't just cast any spell he wants to make sure everybody dies instantly, because that would be OP. But the first or maybe the second Marvel Zombies, they eat Galactus. And get power cosmic from him by eating him, which is just a wonderful sentiment. Okay, here it is. He shows up in a room full of zombies, and Machine Man says, "I have been programmed to eviscerate your repulsive, squishy organic bits and chew gum, and I hate gum." And he just starts shooting people. That's exactly what you want out of a zombie hero. So check out Marvel Zombies 3. Check out any of the Marvel Zombies, but I like the third one. Features one of my favorite characters.
All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Hopefully you guys had a good time listening to our rambles about our past glory. It was fun.
That was fun.
This has been Brandon.
And Dr. Mantis Toboggan, MD.
And Jeremy. Welcome back, Parker. We're glad you didn't fall asleep.
I'm totally awake.
Did we keep your attention this time?
Oh, man. You have no idea.
And this has been Khan!
Oh, my God.
So what are we going to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.
Okay, so Jeremy, you were informing Parker of how you can ruin an entire fucking hog.
Yeah. So my dad has the recipe.
Mhm.
He found it
Recipe.
apparently, online or a travel channel or something,
Mhm.
and decided he wanted to dig a hole that was like a grave. It was like 5 feet deep, 8 feet long, like
Yeah.
4 feet wide, humongous. Filled it with
Wow.
fire and coals, and threw the pig in
Yeah,
there,
you basically make a smoke pit
Yeah.
and you just put the pig in it and bury it.
and he buried it.
Yeah.
Well, he called me like the day before this was happening, and was like, "Hey,
you cook stuff.
what don't I know?" And I was like, "You don't know anything."
Yeah.
I said,
Literally
"Well,"
just scrap it, start over.
I was
New
like,
plan.
I was like, "How big is it?" It's pretty big. I'm like, "How many pounds?" I don't know. So it just became this whole thing. And I told him, I go, "Dude, when you tempt this thing, it needs to be like, let's call it 165 so no one dies when you eat it."
Uh-huh.
Okay.
We call this the not genocide temperature.
So he gets it all done and he calls me the next day at like noon when the party is at like 1. He's like, "It's only at like 1:35. I don't know this is going to work out." And I'm
Oh,
like,
shit.
no. He goes, "Well, but it's still rising." I go, "That's the worst thing."
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
that means
Yeah.
it never hit temp, dude. I'm like, that's
yeah,
disgusting.
if it was going down, at least you could pretend.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So,
Don't worry, the story's not over, Parker.
yeah. So they dig this thing up, they pull it out, and then I get a call, and my dad's like, "Hey, where you at?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know, 15 minutes out." "All right, listen, Bates City Barbecue is on your way. Pull in there. We'll have an order of pork for you. Pick it up."
Mhm.
So I pick up an order of like $150 worth of pulled smoked pork. That hog
Mhm.
cost $100.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
Jesus.
So he's already spent more money on the replacement meat.
yeah,
Wow.
and this is all out in Olathe / Bates City. I pick this up. I get to his house, and basically everyone is fighting over parts of this pig that was not cooked to temperature. Oh, I want the head. The head's good for cooking.
Very,
Oh my god.
very
what?
pink pork. Yeah. They're
Yeah.
fighting over the raw pork.
They want to take this home. So basically it can sit in their car while they have this little party the whole time and then drive to wherever they're going to drive to. I'm just like, you guys, wow. Wow. We have grocery stores. You can buy this shit so
Yeah.
cheap. Like, you don't need this. But they
Wow.
did.
It's just, you would think Midwest people know about pork, but they don't. They know about beef. Like, they know how to treat and care of beef.
Yeah.
They don't understand how pork works.
So you have these dudes, and my dad's like, "Well, I mean, what do we put it in?" So they're putting it in trash bags. Just trash bags of meat just in the back
Holy
of
Here's
their
a
car.
leg of pig in a trash
Uh-huh.
bag. Go put this in your car for 3
Yeah.
hours.
And
Why? Are they just like really upset? Are they
They
just
don't
really
want to
upset?
waste it.
Yeah,
Don't wanna
they're
waste
just
it.
They're
upset.
taking it home to eat it because they don't want it to go to waste.
No, they should just say, "Well, that didn't work. Bye. It's done."
exactly.
Yeah.
You just toss it.
Or just leave it buried. We'll unbury it later and then refrigerate.
Well-
No, instead they dig the thing up uncooked.
Yeah.
And then cut it into pieces
Yeah.
and pass it out for people to keep in their lukewarm cars
So
over
they-
in like October.
Yeah. So they cut it all up, and there's basically the middle part, which had the ribs and stuff. And my dad's like, "We're throwing this away." "Oh, don't throw that away. That's got good meat on it." They kept that. They kept everything. So
Yeah.
my dad was putting it up. Had some of his own. I was like, "Just put that in the oven for God's sake now. Finish it in the oven, then put it away." I'm like, "Then nobody's going to die in your home." So he did that at least, and that turned out okay. But oh my God.
We haven't heard from the other people yet.
Oh, they're gone, I'm sure. Like,
Yeah.
They're done.
Wow.
Everybody's gone.
Can you guys hear me solving my Rubik's Cube over the phone?
No, I can't.
No.
Do I? Okay, good. So I can keep doing this the whole episode.
I guess.
Man, I cannot
if it's
believe.
necessary.
Okay, I can believe that somebody tried to like do a pig, like
Mhm.
luau kind of thing, and it didn't work. Like that, yeah, that's sure. Like,
Yeah, that happens daily,
Yeah,
probably throughout
sure.
the U.S.
And it also makes sense that he didn't know anything about it, so he's like, I really hope this works. It's not working. Shit,
Mhm.
it didn't work. Like that I get. Like he and being ticked and wanting to do something about it, but he also like he tried to fix it, right? You
Yeah.
got some help and then you got it. But the other folks being like, no, we can't let this stand. That's weird. That's like over the fucking.
Yeah.
that's
And I'm telling
over
you,
the
like, the
edge.
parts of the pig, like, you go to the grocery store right now, it's like $1.60 for the butt of the pig that makes pulled pork per pound.
Yeah.
You get like a monstrous amount of pulled pork for like $12. Come on now. I'm just like,
Yeah.
people.
No, pork is cheap. That's the whole point.
So anyway, they did learn like next year when they do it, because they're going to do it like yearly, I guess. We're like 18 hours, not 10. Like that's key.
Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, that's how you fuck up a whole hog. There you go. Done. Great, you
I'm gonna
solved
put
it.
this down
Well done.
before I get addicted to solving it. Probably solved that thing 30 times a day just sitting at my desk. It's my fidget tool.
Well, there you go.
Anyway.
How's the dating scene going, Brandon?
Oh God, is this really what we want to put in the podcast?
Everyone is excited. They're on pins and needles.
Well, I actually meant to tell this story before we started recording, but
Mhm. I
Oh,
want
boy.
to know. Inquiring
I got-
minds.
I got cock-blocked for the first time.
Oh my God!
What?
That was very, very frustrating.
Wait. On your date, a date you set up?
Well, I didn't set it up. I just went on the date with the girl.
Okay.
And we'd been on like one other meetup before that.
All right.
Yeah, so we went over to her friend's place, and her parents are out of town, so we're basically hanging out at their two-story house. And so at some point in the evening, it was very obvious that me and my date were going to be in the upper floor, and that the girl and the rest of the people in the house, her friend and the other people in the house, were going to be in the bottom half of the house
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
for a extended period of time. And someone kept coming upstairs to say hi and see how everything was going. I was like, oh my God. Like, it's like the third visit. I was like, yeah, okay. I see what's happening.
Wow.
You're like, how am I going to kill this person if I keep getting interrupted?
Yeah. But anyway, it was a pretty good date. It was a
Good.
good time. Yeah, went pretty well.
Fantastic.
So anyway, that's my riveting news.
Excellent.
Awesome. Hot off the presses. I like it.
I realized that China, Illinois is on HBO, so I'll be watching that now nonstop.
My schedule is now cleared. I was.
Jeremy, can multiple people watch your HBO Max at the same time, or is it like a one-screen thing?
I have no idea. Last I checked,
Okay.
HBO doesn't give a fuck.
That's kind of what I thought, because all Netflix did was like you have to pay for multiple screens. It costs $3 more a month. And then they just quit caring. They're like,
Mhm.
instead of trying to police it, we'll just say we don't give a shit, and you just have to pay a premium for it. It's like two people in a hotel room. It doesn't double the cost. It's just like 20% more.
Mhm.
But after that, we don't give a shit.
hmm Yeah, I don't know. And they give it away so much with different phone packages and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people have it. I think
Verizon
I actually.
now is claiming you get 7 streaming services when you get a plan with them now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Who?
Wow.
Verizon.
Wow.
I got to tell you, though, if they gave me that, I would have a real problem trying to cancel all of my streaming services and re-up with new ones. Like,
Yeah.
that in itself is like 3 days worth of projecting, like trying to figure it out.
Mhm. My new like big boy credit card I got that for being an adult finally.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Good job.
It gives me a rebate for one streaming service,
hmm
and I get 4 times cash back on dining out, like any food purchase of a restaurant. Basically, I was like, "Oh, you guys don't understand. Like, I haven't cooked a meal in 5 years. Like, it's like this is gonna be the money maker for me." Like,
Nice.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, I really need to do that because I mean it's just a smart thing. You get free stuff. Like if you pay that thing off, you get free things.
Mhm.
I've just never done it. I'm like I just hate having credit cards.
in the words of the great Ron Swanson, capitalism is the way of determining who is rich and who is stupid. I think the words he uses are who is smart and who is poor. But
Yeah, that's right. Who is smart and
who
who
is
is
smart
poor?
and who is poor.
Yeah,
But I prefer to think rich. There's the rich people and the stupid
you
people.
too. Banks are a Ponzi scheme invented to steal your money.
Mhm.
Banks are a Ponzi scheme. I do credit card everything. Absolutely, like every
Do you?
single dollar I can. But it's
Well, you should do it and then like obviously just pay it off. But
Yes,
yeah,
we pay it off. Every
I can
month,
see how if and I've tried to explain this to other people because I actually spent a lot of time learning about the credit system because I had such poor credit.
Mm.
But Also, like, part of my government job, they had a whole class on like how to manage your credit, because you could actually get fired for having bad credit because you were deemed exploitable by foreign powers. And I was like, well, that's fun.
Wow.
So like if your credit like score drops below a certain amount, you just get terminated because you're a liability. Also, if you just owe us like more than your like 3 times your annual income on like non-long-term loans, you could also lose it.
Wow.
Because they're like, oh, well, you could just be offered, you would be vulnerable to being offered money.
I mean, so they could Squid Game you. You never know.
Yeah, Squid
exactly.
Game.
It's like, you never know when you're going to sign up for Squid Game. Like, you don't want that to happen. But anyway, the system is set up for you to succeed early, but if you mess up anything in the early game, you're just fucked. And so, because the credit system's designed for everyone to have an early loan that is guaranteed to be paid back, basically. It's generally designed to be your first auto loan. So it's like, oh, you're just out of high school, you get your first car, it's a reasonably priced vehicle, you get like a $6,000 loan, and you pay it off in a year or two. Like, that's the way the system is designed. And that, like cornerstone launches your credit score. And so the whole formula is based off that. And so if that never happens, it looks very different because the roadmap is designed with that in mind. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't have that starting point, your credit score basically just sits in limbo. And then so if the first thing on your credit score is a bad thing, like let's say an eviction notice, or like a default on some kind of credit card or something, or like a lot of people go get like a Best Buy credit card and forget about it. Mm-hmm. And so you end up with all this back money that you never paid and all these late fees and stuff that ding your credit score. And so instead of like starting this nice smooth trajectory upward, it just immediately tanks. And there's so hard to get enough positives on the record sheet to make up for those negatives in a short period of time. And so all that happens is you never get more credit. Like, nobody will loan you money. And so your credit score just sits there in this hellhole of debt. And then so even though you haven't, like, defaulted on anything, your credit score doesn't go up because you have no positive credit. And so it's just really weird. And so that's kind of what happened to me. And it's because my first roommate screwed me over, and we ended up with an eviction notice because he just decided not to pay rent with the checks I was giving him. Mm-hmm. And so, like, my credit score was completely trash until I was, like, 25.
That's no fun.
Yeah. Well, I don't actually believe in borrowing money, so it's fine. Like, I think the whole concept of, like, living off of debt is really stupid and, like, not great. Like, obviously, like, if you're going to buy a house or something, like, you got to borrow money at some point. Like, if you want to have a reasonably reliable car, you got to borrow money usually. So I get it. It's just, like, I try to avoid it if all possible. So I drive shitty old cars that break down eventually and buy new ones.
I learned about debt. I learned about debt from Blockbuster, the library, and those were bad.
Did they send Mr. Bookman after you?
You know,
did he come to your apartment?
I tell you, back in the day when you could get some good quality Blockbuster debt and you couldn't even get them any movies.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, you knew you were on the low end of the spectrum when Blockbuster wouldn't rent you movies anymore. You're like, oh shit, life over.
Yep. And then the library. You think a nickel isn't bad, right? You're like, a nickel a book per day is not bad. Then you realize you have twins that have 10 books apiece. And you're like, holy shit, how long have these
like
been
$2 a day?
3 weeks later.
When did you check these out? I don't know, 3rd grade. You're like, what?
Yep. You go into trying.
And then you find out that the bookshelf you bought them is just full of library books, and you're oh no.
That's happened. Been there.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys get 1 book apiece. That's it.
So how was your guys' week?
I don't know.
I made a really smart decision this week.
Did you? What'd you do?
I went and played games with you on Monday night, so I was up way too late Monday, and so when Tuesday rolled around, I tanked real hard at like 10:30. So now I've got gas. I've got energy to spare.
Dude. I was wondering about that. I'm like, it was pretty late.
It was. But it was good. It was a good thing. So basically that's the formula. I need to go hard on Monday and then not that way I can't do Tuesday. Cuz it's much harder than just fix my ridiculous reliance on staying up late. I should just trick myself.
There you go.
Parker, you're into the old man stretch. You gotta get back to your roots like me and just never sleep.
Yeah. The problem is I have to get up at 7:30 in the morning. That's the problem. If I could wake up at 9, I'd be fine, but I cannot. See, it's no bueno.
So what are we gonna talk about today?
Oh, I thought we decided, or you just didn't.
I left it up to you guys, and then I walked away. What'd you guys decide?
I'm good with whatever.
Yeah, but what do you want to talk about?
I thought we were going to talk about things we prefer to play now, but maybe I'm the only one who could talk about that because I'm the only one who actually started to play everything now.
Favorite lists, you mean? Is that what we're talking about here?
His topic was, and I quote, "Favorite list and why? Game's been out for a while. What style of game do you like?" I guess we have talked about this before a little bit, I think.
I feel like we've talked about this a lot, just like
Yeah,
not as a dedicated topic.
We have.
Mental exercise, competitive games, top 3 favorite models. Let's look through ye old stack of topics we haven't used yet.
We have make bad leaders work. That's one.
Ugh, no.
I think the question is, do you try?
I think the question is, are there bad leaders or just bad people? That's one of those. Yeah, I don't know that there are.
Let's come up with a name for the Double Dub Miracle Crisis Agreement. What do you guys think?
Okay.
Hello? Anybody?
Okay.
Are you guys here? I don't like the name. I like the concept. I don't like the name.
The all your base are belong to us. Well, just Miracle Crisis Agreement is fine.
I mean, I think Double Dub is fine, but I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I don't want to call it something from DC, but like the Enigma or something. Like we could do it every week, and it's just like throw something in, do the double translate, and then see if we can guess what it is.
Do we? We were gonna double translate the like powers and stuff like that, right? Wasn't that the idea?
Yeah, we did it last week when you were asleep.
Oh yeah, was it fun?
It took a while to figure out, but I think that we got it now. But yeah, it was. I think it was pretty fun. I mean, it's short is the problem because it's like how long do you let the other person guess for before we just call it?
Yeah,
and then because I don't think they're gonna get many of them.
Yeah, it's just kind of cute and clever, really.
All right, I guess we'll just leave it since nobody cares but me.
Leave what?
Were you not listening? I said I wanted to come up with a new name for the
topic. New name. Well, I thought we already had it. I thought it was the Marvel Crisis Protocol that double translate. What was
Well, the name that we have written down is the Double Dub Miracle Crisis Agreement, which is what happens when you do Double Dub Marvel Crisis Protocol and translate back and forth.
There was a actual Mandarin for Double Dub. That was a thing.
No, I just put in Double Dub.
Why do you
MCP.
I guess why do you like insist on having Double Dub in there? What's the?
I can get rid of it. You think Miracle Crisis Agreement makes more sense?
I really like.
I think that's at least the Double Dub gives people an idea of what we're talking about.
But I think
Miracle Crisis Agreement is just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Well, no, obviously you don't go, let's do Miracle Crisis Agreement, yay! And then you start talking. Like you would say, it's a segment in which we, and you could even use your phrase you love, Double Dub. We attempt to translate, text from Marvel Crisis Protocol cards into. Do you guys always use Mandarin or do you use something else sometimes?
I think last time we did.
I did a lot of them.
Japanese. Well, the problem was the first time we did it, the phrases were so simple that like it couldn't mess it up, right? Like I'll just say what it is. I pulled Red Skull at random, and like all of his abilities are 2 words, and they're all very distinct, and so there's no like phrase, and so that was the hard part. All right, now it's just not working. But anyway, thoughts on a new name for this segment?
I like Miracle Crisis Agreement. I've said it a couple times.
Parker?
That's what I like.
Okay, that's what it is then. We'll just leave it.
Okay. Oh, we actually have... That's news, I guess. That's the thing. Did you guys talk about the actual release dates that we now have last cast?
No, because we didn't have them last cast.
Okay. I didn't know that was out when it came out exactly.
Although all I've seen is Dormammu and Ghost Rider, not Ghost Rider, Blade.
No, I thought it was. We also had the next wave after that.
Not on the website. It's not. Maybe they posted it on their site, but it's not on Asmodee's site yet.
Where was this?
Atomic Mass Transmissions. At least I assume it's under Transmissions.
No, it's not in Transmissions. Nope. It was in. Where is this posted? Oh yeah, here.
I know they posted it on social media.
We're happy to announce updated U.S. numbers. Yeah, it's November 12th for. Yeah, I have them right here. I'll
just go through it in news. Okay. All right, so I feel like we still need a main topic.
I'm excited to go to the con. That's all I know.
Ooh, I think con stuff is good. I like con ideas. I think that's actually a really cool topic because convention like gaming is different than regular like gaming, and I think it's. I don't know. Maybe they just talk about like your con process. Maybe that's like a simple one. Because I know I have like a con process that I appreciate.
Well, I can't tell people what I'm going to play because then they'll counterpick me.
They'll definitely tech against you.
What you just
shit under wraps.
What you just said is part of a con process, right? Like that's what I mean. Not like tell me what you're playing or what you're about to do. Although you absolutely should and can. But you could say as part of your con process, you will not tell people what you play because you like that. Like. That's what I mean by con process. And you can absolutely, during the con process, talk about what you will play, or you can say, I will not, because this is part of my con process. The convention, preparation, and execution process is what.
Well, I feel like we can't really do ratings right now, because we have no idea what's going to change.
Correct.
I really think you should do this. I really like this idea. I think this is interesting. Because it's about, like, what do you get out of cons? What do you want to get out of cons? And, yeah.
And I think there's a misconception of what people are looking for at cons as well.
Yes, yeah. I think there's
Everybody's
different. There's something to say about that. Yeah, I think it's a really good. And also, people are interested in it because they like to live vicariously through folks who are getting to do these things.
I try and live through Brandon. To be honest, if I could pick, I live through Brandon.
I feel like if everyone lived through me, it'd be a better world.
I like to live inside of you, Brandon.
Guess where I'm at? I'm inside of you.
I'm inside of you now.
Jesus. I need to live in a world where I get to say, I own a credenza.
What's a credenza?
Exactly. It's a fucking desk of some sort.
I've heard the word before, but
it's like a desk. It's like an old person desk. I don't know. Like, I haven't seen that word.
Old person desk. Well, don't you own a desk, Jeremy?
Not a credenza.
But do you own a desk?
No. Yes.
Then I think technically that's a credenza.
I don't know. Somebody's selling one on Facebook Marketplace, and now I haven't seen the word credenza in years.
Did you get the implication though?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure you knew I called you old.
I don't give a fuck. Oh, where's the Wikipedia? A credenza is a dining room sideboard, particularly one where a central cupboard is flanked by a glass display. Dude, that's so old person-y.
I know what that is. Yeah, my grandma had one of those.
Exactly, it's old as fuck. But I haven't seen the word credenza in probably 20 years. They sell them at IKEA, in case you need one.
No, that's basically just old like China cabinet shit where it's just like, yeah, they don't make those anymore because people don't display knickknacks anymore. And if they do, they just buy bookshelves from IKEA.
I think the only reason you get any sort of like display knickknacks is you inherit one from your grandparents.
Right.
You're like,
I know it's a like getting those little like clown figurines and stuff is still like a thing, but the percentage of people that do that, I feel like that's one of those hobbies that's going to eventually just completely go away because it was literally only a thing because actual hobbies were not a thing yet. Like there wasn't anything you could go do. You could like play fucking cards with your friends. You could listen to the radio, or you could go do like antiquing bullshit, and that's basically all they did.
Going teaking with grandma?
Yeah. Parker, give me a number.
17.
I didn't give you the prerequisites yet. Hold on.
It has to be a number.
Has to be between 5 And 61. Feel free to go back to your previous
17.
number. 17 it is.
So I had to do a training at work, and we watched these videos, and then you have to take a test.
Mm-hmm.
And I always skip through the videos because I've seen them all. I've been there for 10 years. All the videos are the same. So I skip through them. I go straight to the test. One of the questions is, basically it says people generally, when they leave or egress a building, will stay within 10 miles of when they leave. And another one is like 20 miles. And that's basically the answer. And I'm like, okay. Or no, it was, will they stay within 10 miles? I was like, yes. I go down and it's like, you failed the test. It was not within 10 miles. It was 2 miles. False. I'm like, do you understand how words work?
But they will stay. Like the statement is in fact true.
And in
but
fact,
they asked it in a very bad way.
I answered it wrong twice. I did the entire test fucking twice because I looked at it and I stared real hard. And I'm like, maybe I accidentally clicked false. So I clicked it again and it's like, no, it's within 2 miles, asshole. So I did that twice. Oh my God. So stupid.
I don't know if this one's going to work either. I don't know if we can get bad enough translations with how simple the phrases are.
I'm trying really hard right now. I'm really struggling to find something that's not just pretty normal. Like, it's not that hard.
Yeah, a lot of them are like overly simplified. Originally, the plan was just put in the whole text block, but that becomes impossible because there's like so many symbols and stuff that you have to then type out, and then it becomes very obvious because you've like ended up adding a bunch of describer words. It's kind of weird.
Couldn't you just wiki like a character and then
I think
make us
the
guess what
better
character
thing
it is?
to do would be do tactics cards. Like the names of tactics cards, maybe.
God damn it.
Ooh.
Or my other thought is maybe, is Google just too fucking smart?
I think also Translate has just gotten a lot better over the years. Like a lot better. Because I put in some shit like, there's no way. And it's like perfect. I'm like, oh. Or maybe we're just not using the right languages. Like, I even tried like traditional Chinese and it like doesn't make a dent.
It's also possible because I'm using the same translator both times, and that's just doing it for me, maybe.
Yeah, maybe if we use different translators, but I don't think that would really matter.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to try. We're going to try. Here we go. Different translator this time. Did not matter. This is a good idea, but it is
good, yeah.
It's not working. Okay.
They're just the statements just aren't long enough. So I think I'm just gonna have to go to like the cards and just find names that are long enough.
Okay, I think I found one.
Uh-huh.
I like that translation. I think that one's kind of funny.
All right. Well, if you have one, oh, here we go.
I'm gonna keep building. I'm gonna keep making some. Let's see.
Is our listener audience still going up?
Oh no, we have like no listeners now.
Fuck.
Oh, I found a great one.
It's because Parker was off.
I found an absolutely great one. Parker, do you really want to do yours?
Oh wait, hold on. We're just doing like one?
Yeah, we just do one each week. It's a little quick segment.
Oh. Okay, sure, I guess.
You want to do yours?
You can do 2. Why not? It doesn't take long.
Well, but I want to space them out because like the ones that are actually good are few and far between.
Okay.
And so I'm worried we're gonna run out.
Sure.
So Parker, you're doing yours, right?
Yeah, I can do mine.
Okay, I'm closing all my shit then. And hopefully we didn't find the same one. It really apologized. I was like, oh, I know what you did. Okay. All right, so main topic, we're going to talk about con-going experience.
Not so amazing, Spider-Man.
You like my touch?
I did. I like that.
Jeremy's finally in the document. Like, hey, what are you guys doing in here?
I look at it from time to time. I do enjoy being surprised, though.
This is where when you have topic ideas, you're supposed to come in here to the podcast topics section and post them. And then we'll have them for later.
No, that's a young man's game.
That's a young man's game.
It's not
Being able
me.
to read and type.
A young
whoa,
man's game.
Whoa.
Shots fired.
Settle down. I gotta go and get my credenza. Move it over here.
All right, let me get a timestamp, and we'll get started. You guys good? Parker, I have a question for you. What starts with an E, ends with an E, and has only one letter in it? You give up?
I give up.
An envelope, dumbass.
Gotcha.
Fucking got him!
That was good. I really appreciate that one.
That was a really good one. I was very happy I found that one. All right, so getting started.
That was good.
Well
I did
done.
not see that coming.
Well done.
That's because I waited to put it in until the last second.
That was really cool. All right.
Oh, boy.
I want you to know I am going to cut this post party short because if I go to bed now, then I can keep playing tomorrow.
Do you know how many times you've told me that and not shown up? All the times. He's trying to think of a single time.
No, I'm just trying to think of a single time I didn't do that.
Anyway, I do think we've put enough into this one though, so
Yeah.
we're gonna go ahead and wrap up.
Let's do
But
it.
Parker, you have to stay. I do have to talk to you about something.
Okay.
All right. So stopping. You guys ready?